Chapter 49:16. Boom! Boom! At this moment there was a loud explosion several times louder than the previous one. The peak of Coiling Dragon Mountain was lifted, and a crimson blood bead that was dozens of miles wide rushed into the sky. Blood spirit bead? Old man Guqiong looked at it and exclaimed, "How can it be so big?" As soon as Old man Guqiong finished speaking, the blood spirit bead shrank even more as it rushed into the sky. Old man Guqiong snorted and grabbed at the air. His huge hand grew to the size of dozens of acres and rushed into the sky to grab the blood spirit bead. However, before Old man Guqiong's hand could get close, the demonic blood sea under Coiling Dragon Mountain exploded. The demonic array above Coiling Dragon Mountain was originally imprisoned by the demonic array, and now that it was disrupted, the space overlapped, and Old man Guqiong's hand was torn apart by the power of space. "Stay here." Seeing that Old man Guqiong's hand had failed to grab the blood spirit bead, Ji Yan's spiritual master, Yi family patriarch and the others roared. Several huge hands appeared from all directions and sealed the space above Coiling Dragon Mountain. However, they were too slow. When Old man Guqiong waved his hand, the blood spirit bead had already shrunk to the size of a wicker basket and approached the spatial fault in the sky. When Old man Guqiong's hand was torn apart, the blood spirit bead touched the spatial fault. In an instant, the blood spirit bead shrank to the size of a thumb and disappeared into the spatial fault. Then the spatial fault shrank rapidly and turned into a black and white line. The blood spirit bead spun in the black and white line for a moment before it disappeared. At the same time, the black and white line that pierced into the sky strangely disappeared. It was only now that the seals of several supreme cultivators arrived. What they had sealed were merely some void embers. Things were far from over. After the supreme cultivator sealed the sky, the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Coiling Dragon Mountain collapsed one after another, and the land nearby also collapsed. The beautiful scenery was about to be destroyed. Forget about the Blood Fiend's spiritual pearl for now. Old man Guqiong made a decision after scanning the area with his divine sense. The demonic array on Coiling Dragon Mountain has collapsed, and it has triggered the power of the earth. This should be the demon race's backup plan. Once we control the demonic array, the power of the earth will disappear. All right. After receiving the order, Immortal Ji Yan raised his hand and slapped the top of his head. Boom! A clear light rushed out, and a seal engraved with the word heaven and earth rose into the sky. Immortal Ji Yan channeled his magic power, and the seal became larger than a mountain and pressed down on the eastern land. Watch this, old man. The Yi clan's ancestor didn't dare to be negligent. He opened his mouth and a palm-sized jade ruby flew out. Boom boom boom. As the Yi clan's ancestor urged his magic power, the jade ruby transformed into the shape of an azure dragon and pounced towards the western land, similarly suppressing a part of the demonic array. When Zhou was only a Mahayana realm cultivator, and had barely touched the Demon Emperor realm with the help of demonic patterns and demonic arrays. Under the full suppression of the two tribulation-passing cultivators, the demon race was suppressed. The mountain stopped collapsing and the earth stopped collapsing. However, streams of water seeped out from the depths of the earth. Fortunately, when Zhou had to refine the Blood Fiend's spiritual pearl with all his strength and didn't dare to waste a trace of blood mist. Therefore, the water that flowed out was spring water. Although it wasn't very clear, it wouldn't destroy Coiling Dragon Mountain. Wanderer Fu Bo, Yu Hongzi, and Fairy Mo Yun had already summoned their natal spiritual treasures. Seeing that the demonic array was suppressed, they relaxed their vigilance. Fairy Mo Yun waved her sleeve and released a parrot. The parrot flapped its wings and flew into the void. A moment later, it appeared in front of the collapsed earth. The parrot opened its mouth and spat out a beam of orange light, which turned into a net and scattered in all directions. After 5 minutes, the orange light disappeared. The parrot squawked and flew back into the void, appearing in front of Fairy Mo Yun again. The parrot said a few words that sounded like a human, and then returned to Fairy Mo Yun's sleeve. Fairy Mo Yun said, "Everyone, the demonic array under the ground has disappeared. However, there are no traces of demons or humans. There isn't even a trace of a soul." "Thank you, Fairy." Taoist Ji Yan's face was filled with anger. He didn't take back the heaven and earth seal. Instead, he said to Yi family's ancestor, "Fellow Taoist, don't worry. We'll suppress this array first and talk about it after we figure out what happened. No problem. Yi family's ancestor looked around and replied, fellow Taoists, don't let down your guard. Don't let the remaining demons slip away. At this moment, Wen Qingfan flew over with an ashen face. He had to admit that the world's sorrow and joy were too unpredictable. Just a moment ago, he was still imagining the bright future of the One family. In just a moment, not only did the future turn into darkness, the One family's ancestral property was almost completely lost. If it weren't for Taoist Ji Yan and a few other supreme cultivators, Wen Qingfan wouldn't have the face to see his ancestors in the underworld even if he died. Senior. Wen Qingfan's voice was a little hoarse as he asked anxiously, what happened? Taoist Ji Yan was also angry and cursed, damn it, do you still have to ask me what happened to your One family? Old man Gu Qiong said resentfully, you're the One family's patriarch. We're guests from afar. You decide how to deal with this. Although Wen Qingfan was a little dispirited, he was still the patriarch of the One family. After being reprimanded by Ji Yan and old man Gu Qiong, he perked up and issued an order to the One family elders, Wen Qing and Wen Yuxi, to lead the One family disciples to rescue the disciples who were in danger when Panlong Mountain collapsed. The One family's disciples had been frightened out of their wits by the anomaly on Coiling Dragon Mountain. Some fled while others wandered around. Now that their patriarch had returned, they felt reassured and began to work. When the casualties became clearer, Wen Qingfan ordered Wen Zhuoqi to calm the disciples down. He also asked the steward and the deacon to discuss other emergency matters in the One family. When it was dark, Wen Qingfan summoned Wen Zhan and asked him about the adventure and the encounter with Zhang Xiaohua. Then he praised Wen Zhan and called Wen Qing, Wen Yuxi, and Wen Zhuoqi over to ask about everything that happened after he left the One family and after Zhang Xiaohua came to the conference hall. Naturally, the three elders reported everything in detail. They even told him about the heavenly plum token. The demonic array was completely suppressed. After the One family's disciples searched, the Yi family's patriarch and Fairy Mo Yun searched again. After making sure that they didn't miss anything, they put away their spiritual treasures and stood in the air, quietly watching Wen Qingfan deal with all the affairs. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qijian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it and give it a tip. Chapter 49:17. The One clan disciples heard what Wen Zhan and the three elders said, but the more they listened, the more confused they became. They really didn't understand what had happened on Coiling Dragon Mountain. Seniors. Wen Qingfan pondered for a moment and reported, I have some speculations. If possible, please serve me tea in the guest hall. I'll report everything to you. No need. Old man Gu Qiong waved his hand and said, since the One clan has undergone a drastic change, we won't nag you anymore. You can speak now, there aren't any outsiders here. Yes, Wen Qingfan replied. After organizing his thoughts, he said, based on what I know, there are only two speculations. Oh, there are actually two? Tell me. Ji Yan smiled and took the opportunity to ask. First, Zhang Xiaohua is a demon. Wen Qingfan said decisively, her so-called spirit root selection method and spirit root cultivation method are both flawed cultivation methods. If our Tao Alliance cultivators cultivate them, it will be difficult for them to reach the greater mastery stage. There might even be a disaster. Although we can't see any flaws, we can't guard against the demon's cultivation method. When we encounter the demon, our human race will be captured. As for why Zhang Xiaohua came to our One clan, she met up with Wen Zhou, whose body was possessed by the demon. Then, Zhang Xiaohua perished together with Wen Zhou and turned into a spirit blood pearl. Yi clan's patriarch asked sarcastically before Wen Qingfan could finish. Wen Qingfan shrugged and said seriously, as for why Zhang Xiaohua came to Coiling Dragon Mountain to cooperate with Wen Zhou, this junior doesn't know. Didn't senior say earlier that there was a spirit blood pearl? With the blood fiend's spirit pearl, they must have used it to escape to the devil realm. Old man Gu Qiong seemed to want to give Wen Qingfan some pointers and said, the spirit blood pearl is commonly known as the myriad spirit pearl. However, based on what I know, the real spirit blood pearl is not the ordinary myriad spirit pearl. Generally speaking, the myriad spirit pearl was made from the blood spirits of the human race. However, The blood evil spirit pearl was not only made from the blood spirits of the human race, but also from the blood spirits of the devil race, the spirit race, and other races. In other words, since the demonic array has condensed into a blood fiend spirit pearl, then within the demonic array, whether it's the human race, the devil race, or even the demonic beasts, none will survive. Furthermore, this old man and fairy Mo Yun have already investigated carefully. The demonic formation has already dissipated, and there are no traces of humans or demons nearby. Yi Clan's ancestor continued. Jian Zhenren said faintly, "Don't worry. Even if Zhang Xiaohua is a demon, he won't be able to escape with the help of this pearl. No matter if it was the myriad spirit pearl or the blood evil spirit pearl. Only blood spirits and souls could exist in it. Humans and demons could not survive in it. So, Zhang Xiaohua would not foolishly borrow the demonic blood pearl to escape. Secondly, Zhang Xiaohua is not a demon." When Qingfan said, "Then it's very interesting that when Zhou killed Zhang Xiaohua. In other words, Zhang Xiaohua's luck is extremely bad. I know the effect of the neon sky welcoming the guest. There was no red light around Coiling Dragon Mountain, so that light must have been activated by the demonic array. When Zhou waited for Zhang Xiaohua to come here to deceive others." "Well, your analysis is right. That's the reason." Elder Gu Qiong nodded with a smile. "Anything else?" And, when Qingfan glanced at Elder Gu Qiong with a bitter expression and said, "Since Zhang Xiaohua is a human, no matter whether he is a cultivator of the Heaven Alliance or the Tao Alliance, he has mastered the secret method to modify the cultivation methods of the Tao Alliance. He has become the hope of the Tao Alliance. In order to kill the Tao Alliance, when Zhou lured Zhang Xiaohua and the others into the demonic array and killed them." Jian Zhenren was shocked and hurriedly asked, "What do you mean Wen Qingfan? Didn't Wen Zhou kill Zhang Xiaohua for the heavenly plum token?" Wen Qingfan explained, "The heavenly plum token is important, but it's only important to the one family. It's not important to the entire Tao Alliance. I've read the Alliance Master's Jade Slip, and know that he has obtained the cultivation methods modified by Zhang Xiaohua. However, most of them are for qi refinement and only one is for foundation establishment. I heard from Wenqing that Zhang Xiaohua has finished modifying the foundation establishment cultivation method, and is now modifying the golden core cultivation method. However, these cultivation methods... Damn it! Jian Zhenren was furious. Wen Zhou must have taken these cultivation method jade slips, and the heavenly plum token and destroyed them in the demonic array. Moreover, he killed fellow Taoist Zhang, who knows how to modify the cultivation methods." "That's right." Wen Qingfan said helplessly, "I gave the sect token to Wen Zhou. He has the authority to deal with any affairs in the sect." "When was Wen Zhou possessed by the demon clan? Don't tell me you don't know anything about it?" Elder Gu Qiong asked harshly. Wen Qingfan trembled, but he answered honestly, "I really don't know." "Didn't you leave any jade slips behind?" The Yi family's patriarch looked at Wenqing and the other elders and asked unwillingly. Wenqing smiled wryly. "Senior, we were overjoyed when we saw the heavenly plum token. Then, we remembered that Senior Zhang had arrived at Coiling Dragon Mountain, and given the cultivation method jade slips to the fourth ancestor. We would see them sooner or later. That." At this moment, Wen Zhan, who couldn't get close due to his shallow cultivation, raised his hand and timidly shouted, "Seniors, Junior has some copies of jade slips." Swoosh! Before Wen Zhan could finish, Jian Zhenren teleported to his side and raised his hand. "Give them to me." Yes. Wen Zhen agreed, but he didn't take them out. He only looked at Wen Qingfan. "Don't worry," Elder Gu Qiong said with a smile. "If this cultivation method is useful, the Tao Alliance will let your family head rejoin the Tao Alliance and reward your Wen family generously. Give it to Senior Jian." Wen Qingfan hurriedly urged Wen Zhan. Jian Zhenren took the jade slips from Wen Zhan, but he didn't read them immediately. Instead, he copied them and gave them to Elder Gu Qiong and the others. Then, he released his divine telekinesis to read them. Jian Zhenren was so happy that he couldn't help but howl at the sky. His howl shattered the dark clouds in the night sky, and moonlight poured down like water. "Damn it!" Jian Zhenren scolded jokingly. "These are all the qi refinement and foundation establishment cultivation methods, as well as a few golden core cultivation methods. It seems to be more complete than what Wen Qingfan said. Why did you copy them secretly? P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, or give it a tip. Chapter 49:18. To tell you the truth, after Senior Zhang gave this cultivation technique to the family head, I realized it would be very difficult for me to get it again. Wen Jin explained embarrassedly, so this junior secretly made a copy of the cultivation technique while discussing it with Senior Zhang. Senior Zhang is a very nice person, and he knows this junior's thoughts. Sometimes he doesn't need this junior to make a copy, and he gives this junior 2 copies. Alas, the ancients are right. Only when you lose something do you realize how precious it is. Old man Gu Qiong sighed and said, previously, we were discussing fellow Zhang Xiaohua's background. Now it seems that no matter whether he was from the Tao Alliance, the Heaven Alliance, or the Lost Land, he is still a cultivator of our Tao sect. As long as he can help us modify our cultivation techniques and allow our Tao sect to survive and develop under the change of heaven and earth spirit Qi, he will be our Tao sect's savior. Unfortunately, fellow Taoist Zhang has fallen. Taoist Ji Yan also sighed, but he still raised the jade slip in his hand and said, fortunately, he left behind some cultivation techniques before he died. Not only can we let our juniors practice these cultivation techniques, but we can also use them as a blueprint to understand his method of modifying cultivation techniques and modify more cultivation techniques. Taoist Ji Yan looked at Wen Qingfan and said, of course, these cultivation technique jade slips were obtained from the One family by the Tao Alliance. I'll issue an Alliance Master token to let the One family make amends for their mistakes and reward them generously. Thank you for your help, seniors. Wen Qingfan hurriedly bowed. Get up. Old man Gu Qiong helped Wen Qingfan up and said with a smile, Qingfan, from the way you handled the sex affairs, I can see that you are not incompetent. In fact, you are very capable and can be considered a competent family head. The old monkey did nothing wrong by handing the One family to you. However, you are still not confident. Confidence is the foundation of everything. Only with confidence can you do things well. Only with confidence can you be a good family head. Perhaps you don't know this, but the old monkey once told me about you and the origin of your name. The word ordinary is because he knows that you are a little introverted. Compared to those who show off their abilities, you are too ordinary. However, he specially asked your father to add the word Qing to your name. As long as you take on any ordinary task, you will succeed. When Qingfan didn't expect his name to have such a history, he couldn't help but burst into tears. How was he a Mahayana cultivator? Alright, it's time for me to leave. Get the One family disciples to activate the teleportation array. Old man Gu Qiong helped Wen Qingfan up with a smile and said, the One clan has many things to do now. Moreover, you've made a great contribution, so you have to deal with it well. Don't disappoint me. However, old man Gu Qiong felt that his words were inappropriate and he waved his hand. My thoughts have nothing to do with you. If you have any difficulties, feel free to look for me. Yes, this junior understands. When Qingfan shed tears of gratitude and was about to bow again when old man Gu Qiong's figure flickered and disappeared. Ji Yan and the others had already teleported away to follow old man Gu Qiong. Farewell, seniors. When Qingfan didn't dare to be rude and hurriedly issued the sect master's order to activate the teleportation array. Teleportation consumed one's lifespan, so old man Gu Qiong and the others had only flown for a few hundred kilometers before they reappeared. When Ji Yan was looking for a teleportation array, the Yi family's patriarch sighed and said, fellow Taoist Ji Yan, do you think fellow Taoist Zhang died in the demonic array? Ji Yan naturally understood the Yi family's patriarch's reluctance and asked in return, if it were fellow Taoist Yi, how confident would he have been in escaping? Naturally, I have a 60% chance of escaping. Yi clan's elder replied without any hesitation, but in reality, perfected Ji Yan raised his hand and pointed in a direction. He flew slowly and asked, did you see the corpses of Zhang Xiaohua, O Yuehua of the Chanhe sect, Lu Qingyu, and Nu Yeqing in the ruins of the demon array? No. The Yi family's patriarch replied. Fairy Mo Yun also said, that's right. Although fellow Taoist Zhang is a peerless scholar, he broke into this realm and lost all his magic power. He wanted to rely on Yuehua and Lu Qingyu, 2 golden core cultivators to protect him. How could he have escaped from the demonic array? Yijan said 60%, but that was an estimate when he faced the demonic array directly. Old man Gu Qiong said, I heard from the One family's elders that even they couldn't tell that Wen Zhou was a demon. How could fellow Daoist Zhang have known? Caught off guard, even with Yijan's ability, he only had a 40% chance. Moreover, didn't Ji Yin say at the Alliance conference that more than 2 million people had died? Nearly 2 million disciples from the various clans of our Dao Alliance have already been killed. If my guess is correct, the One clan should be one of those clans as well. Not a single one of those clans' disciples managed to escape alive. I'm afraid that fellow Daoist Zhang is most likely doomed as well. Wanderer Fu Bo, who had been silent all this time, said, I don't want to believe that Zhang Xiaohua has died, but it's the truth. It's useless for us to say more. Yu Hongzi also echoed, that's right. Fellow Daoist Zhang has died, so it's up to us now. There are countless capable people in the Dao Alliance. Since we have the method to select spiritual roots and cultivate low-grade spiritual roots, I'm sure it won't be long before we have more cultivation techniques that can adapt to the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. Yes, there's no need for the Alliance leader to search for fellow Daoist Zhang anymore. Jiyan Jinra nodded and said, let's make this cultivation technique public and let them find a way to modify it. We'll continue to the Heaven Alliance's forbidden area. Also, we'll look around carefully to see if we can find any traces of the demon's attack. As they spoke, they arrived at the One family's teleportation array. After the One family's disciples activated the teleportation array, they entered the teleportation channel and headed to the Heaven Alliance as planned. Naturally, no human, demon, or spirit body could be stored in the spiritual blood pearl. However, Xiaohua's body was constructed by the laws of heaven and earth. How could it be an ordinary body? Just as the Dao Alliance believed that Xiaohua had perished, Xiaohua activated his fiend body to fight against the 177,777 souls within the baleful blood pearl, as well as that incomparably powerful teleportation energy. And just as the blood fiend spirit pearl rushed from the coiling dragon mountain's demonic array into the collapsed black and white silhouette, a power of teleportation that Xiaohua was familiar with came crashing down from above his head like a giant mountain, firmly pressing down on his body. This kind of enormous power far exceeded the power of ordinary teleportation. Although this power was not as vast as the power of the realm, it was still difficult for Xiaohua to resist. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, give it as a reward and thank you cabbage. I'll update these few chapters for you. Chapter 49-19. And what was special was that under the power of transmission, the hundreds of thousands of blood beads began to strangely revolve within the space of the spirit blood bead. The power of hundreds of thousands of tiny soul beads gathered together, forming an unparalleled strength that Xiaohua couldn't match. It was doing its best to extract something from Xiaohua's body. Xiaohua felt that his bloodline, body, and even soul were showing signs of collapsing. He couldn't help but activate his demonic technique and reveal his demon god Dharma idol. But even so, the soul power didn't decrease much. Extremely large amounts of soul power entered Xiaohua's demonic body like invisible threads. Strange. Xiaohua was somewhat puzzled. I seem to have collected the souls of hundreds of thousands of Wen clan disciples. Why do these blood beads still have soul power? Could this be the reason why the demons wanted to take over Wen Zhou's body and borrow the bloodline of the Wen clan disciples? Thinking of the bloodline, Xiaohua was suddenly startled. After careful examination, he shouted in his heart, "Damn it! This isn't just pure soul power. And the soul power is just the surface. Under this power, there's even more bloodline power mixed in. Damn it, there's definitely something wrong with the Wen clan. That Tianmei token must have an extraordinary background. But how can it be possible to trap me with the bloodline power of hundreds of thousands of ordinary cultivators?" Immediately, Xiaohua activated the demonic flames around him to contend with the bloodline power. It seemed that Xiaohua still underestimated the bloodline power of the Wen clan disciples. After holding on for less than an hour, not only did the power of teleportation not weaken, it actually strengthened. Under the power of teleportation, the bloodline power of the demonic blood beads became even more fierce. forcing Xiaohua's demonic body to collapse again. Damn it! Xiaohua secretly clenched his teeth. I haven't recovered my strength yet, so I don't dare to activate the demonic technique too much. But now that the blood beads are so powerful, I have to take the risk. Thinking of this, Xiaohua sneered. The demonic flames around his body soared into the sky, and the strands of blood-red light fell, forming thumb-sized vortexes. Within those vortexes, the sinister blood demons were rapidly growing larger. Xiaohua first refined the power of the blood bead to protect himself, but in the end, the transmission power showed no sign of weakening at all. After more than 10 days, Xiaohua was greatly alarmed. He desperately urged the demonic power, shouting madly in his heart, "Damn it! This million spirits blood bead won't be transmitted to the demonic world, will it? It wasn't easy for me to get to the Yilin continent. If I were to break out again, how long would it take for me to come back? Big brother, where did so much blood spirit chi come from?" Just as Xiaohua was about to refine the million spirits blood pearl into his demonic body, Mo Zuansher's voice suddenly sounded. Damn it! Hearing the voice of the demon Zun, Xiaohua's heart moved and he involuntarily cursed in a low voice. Since the Tao Master's shadow appeared and gifted Xiaohua with the Tao seed, Xiaohua's original body and all his doppelgangers started to become complete under the influence of the Tao seed's power of law. Although Xiaohua anxiously hoped that his doppelgangers could recover as soon as possible, the demon venerable was definitely not the first one he hoped for. No matter if it was Feng Wu or the Thunderbolt Immortal, these doppelgangers were all doppelgangers that Xiaohua had truly split from his primordial spirit. Even Huang Tong was also a doppelganger that Xiaohua had split from his primordial spirit and cultivated using the Phoenix celestial body. Only this demon venerable was not Xiaohua's real primordial spirit. It was only refined by Xiaohua using the blood shadow technique. Moreover, the demon venerable's original body was the demon spirit of the demon array. Although the demon venerable and Xiaohua's minds were connected, Xiaohua always felt that there would be a day when the demon venerable could not control himself. At this time, Xiaohua's strength had not recovered, and the other doppelgangers had not awakened yet. However, the demon venerable had awakened first. This could not help but arouse Xiaohua's vigilance. Sigh. Xiaohua sighed and replied, I have fallen into the trap of a human clan cultivator who had been possessed by the demon clan. With that, Xiaohua told the whole story to the demon venerable in his heart. Humph. Hearing this, the demon venerable was furious and said anxiously, Big brother, I have said earlier that you are too kind. Of course, I am not saying that being kind is wrong, but if you are so kind to everyone, who knows what other people are thinking? Moreover, you have just fallen into the trap, so you should have a way to leave the demon array. After all, refining the blood demon spiritual pearl requires the help of the right time, place and people. With the strength of that when Zhou *********, it is impossible for him to make it so seamless. If you did not care about those Wen clan disciples who were killed, you and I would definitely be able to escape. Speaking to hear, the demon venerable suddenly woke up and shouted, That's not right, why can't I move? You followed I into the Yilin continent. Our bodies were destroyed by the power of the boundary between the two worlds, and now we are slowly recovering. Xiaohua replied indifferently. Damn it! The demon venerable's curses were no different from Xiaohua's. This kind of snail-like recovery. How long will it take for me to recover to my original state? This is nothing. Xiaohua replied, When I just broke the boundary, you were just seeds. Now that you have recovered to the point of awakening, it is already not bad. Demon Venerable, how do you feel now? The demon venerable was silent for a while, then suddenly laughed wildly. Ha ha ha, big brother. Thank you so much. Hearing the demon venerable's sudden gratitude, and the big brother from the bottom of his heart, Xiaohua suddenly felt that he was too stingy. The demon venerable was somewhat annoying, but these actions were his nature as a demon. If the demon venerable's actions were similar to that of Nanwa Maithreya, then would he still be the demon venerable? Moreover, in terms of strength, after returning from the upper realm, the demon venerable's strength was once at the forefront of all his doppelgangers, but he never showed this to his doppelgangers, and always called them big brother. How was this still the demon venerable? Sometimes, when facing the disdain of celestial beings and Reverend Yun's displeasure, The demon venerable did not dare to show any dissatisfaction, and always had a smiling face. The demon venerable might not be able to defeat Reverend Yun, but of course, his strength was stronger than celestial beings. Of course, this did not exclude the possibility that the demon venerable was afraid of Xiaohua killing him, but according to Xiaohua's current thoughts, the demon venerable liked these doppelgangers who shared the same origin as him more than he feared him. Previously, when he was in the upper realm, he had a lot of misunderstandings about Buddha Maitreya. Of course, it was because of the influence of the heavenly demon, but more importantly, it was because he did not trust himself. He had already misunderstood Buddha Maitreya, so why couldn't he give the demon venerable more trust? Xiaohua's mind was full of thoughts, but the demon venerable did not know. Xiaohua laughed again. Oh? What's wrong? What's there to think? P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian. Give a monthly vote, a recommendation vote, a collection, a tip, and thank all forms of support. Thank you, Cabbage. These few chapters have been updated for you. Chapter 49-20. Big Brother. Before this, I thought that my demon body was already rare in the heavens and earth. In this mortal world, I'm afraid there's no better one. Demon Sovereign Sure was pleasantly surprised. But now, I don't know how to describe this demon body. Oh right, all the other big brothers. Are they all like this? And since you're like this, they probably won't be any worse than you. Xiaohua heard Demon Sovereign Sure thinking about other clones and became even happier. He smiled and replied, "Haha, that's good, that's good." Demon Sovereign Sure laughed, but suddenly, he was shocked again. He hurriedly said, Big Brother, what's going on? How did your demon blade murder get into my body?" Not to mention Demon Sovereign Sure being shocked, even Xiaohua was inexplicably shocked. Demon blade murder had merged with Xiaohua's left hand from the profound water palace, and had always been a part of Xiaohua's body. But this time the breaking of the world was more dangerous than any other time. Xiaohua's body was reconstructed, condensed with the laws of heaven and earth. Xiaohua didn't feel the existence of demon blade murder before, but Xiaohua always thought that it was because his body wasn't completely repaired. He didn't expect demon blade murder to merge with Demon Sovereign Sure's body of laws. However, in just a moment, Xiaohua understood that although Demon Sovereign Sure, Skyman, Thunder Immortal and himself had the same primordial spirit and the same laws of heaven and earth, the laws of heaven and earth were as vast as the sea. They each comprehended different laws, and thus the laws of heaven and earth were different. Demon Sovereign Sure was from the demon race, and the laws he comprehended were the demonic side of heaven and earth. Demon blade murder was a killing and bloody demonic weapon. He didn't merge with Demon Sovereign Sure's body, but instead merged with Maitreya Buddha's body. What should I do? Big Brother. Demon Sovereign Sure was anxious. How can I return it to you? Why should I return it? Xiaohua laughed. You are me, I am you. What's there to return? That's true. Big Brother, I was wrong. Demon Sovereign Sure laughed. Left and right, I'm also in Big Brother's body. Whenever Big Brother wants to use it, just pick it up. As he spoke, Demon Sovereign Sure's demonic sense swept around and shouted, Big Brother. How is this refining a blood spirit? If the other demons knew that this level of sacrificial refining was actually this little brother's Big Brother, then this little brother's face as a demon lord would be lost. Please wait for a moment. Let me show you what I can do. As he spoke, Demon Venerable Sure's primordial spirit actually wanted to seize Xiaohua's corporeal body. A few moments ago, Xiaohua absolutely would not have tolerated this. He would have even used a primordial spirit mystic technique to deal with Demon Lord Sure. But after thinking about it, Xiaohua felt different. He did not feel that Demon Lord Sure had any ill intentions. He only felt that Demon Lord Sure was like a little brother who wanted to show off his skills in front of his big brother. More importantly, he was showing off. Xiaohua smiled and retracted his consciousness, allowing Demon Venerable Sure to control his body. His consciousness entered the space, taking advantage of this gap to speed up the modification of his cultivation technique. The moment Demon Lord Sure took control of Xiaohua's body, boom boom boom, like a volcano erupting, Xiaohua's body suddenly expanded by several times. The surface of his body was originally filled with demonic qi, but demonic flames rushed out like lava. Hundreds of demonic flames rampaged inside the blood fiend spirit bead. Wherever the demonic flames passed, ghostly wails and howls could be heard. The power of the bloodline released by hundreds of thousands of blood beads was torn to pieces. Oh! Demon Lord Shur raised his head and roared. Opening his mouth, the shattered blood light was all sucked into his stomach. It had to be said that the same corporeal body, the same demonic technique, under the control of the human races Xiao Hua and under the control of Demon Lord Shur, was completely different. It's just a mere blood bead. Big brother is too cautious. Demon Lord Shur sucked the power of the bloodline and actually burped. He grumbled in a low voice, since Benson woke up first, it's Benson's good fortune. If Benson didn't help Big Brother, when Celestial woke up, he would probably laugh at Benson. After speaking, Demon Lord Shur's body trembled. Tens of thousands of blood-light tentacles appeared from the demonic chi. On each tentacle, there was a blood demon head, and each blood demon head had the appearance of Demon Lord Shur. Tens of thousands of blood demons laughed wildly at the same time. Passing through the space, the blood beads that were spinning disorderly all around fell. Boom boom boom. The tentacles caught all the blood beads with lightning speed. The entire blood bead space violently trembled. The previously dense blood red that filled the space gradually faded. Another half a day passed. 90% of the one clan's blood essence was refined. The outside of the blood bead was no longer intertwined with black, white, and blood. It already showed a faint light. At this time, wung wung. Vibrating sounds came from outside the blood bead. Demon Lord Shur released his demonic consciousness. However, just as his demonic consciousness came out of the blood bead, an almost unparalleled tearing force appeared strangely and tore the demonic consciousness apart. Damn it! Demon Lord Shur cursed in a low voice. His head covered by the demonic helmet revealed a pair of blood-red eyes. When Demon Lord Shur saw the situation outside the blood bead, he couldn't help but be shocked. Other than the flashing blood-red demonic patterns, it was not an ordinary scene in the human world. It was an abyss. This abyss was very different from the usual abyss. There was no silence, no extreme darkness. Above the abyss there was a sun and a moon shining brightly. There were specks of stars and there were layers of heavens. However, all of these phenomena were not complete. It did not look like they were in the same space. The entire abyss was like a kaleidoscope. There were countless space fragments. Above each space fragment there was a sun, a moon, and a star. Below each sun, moon, and star was an abyss. And within these fragments, there was the power of space that ordinary cultivators could not resist. The power of space naturally intertwined, forming a space storm. Wherever the space storm passed, not only did it tear apart the demon sovereign Shur's demon consciousness, but it also stirred up the fragments in the abyss, causing more fragments to appear in a dazzling manner. The demonic blood spirit bead fell into the abyss, and the demonic patterns on the surface of the bead appeared like water. Where the power of space landed, the demonic patterns produced a blood-red color. Within the scarlet light, the blood bead rotated, and the power of space was removed. Seeing this, Demon Lord Shur did not dare to refine the blood essence in the blood bead. At this time, the bloodline power in the blood bead was already weak, and could not pose any threat to Demon Lord Shur. Strange. Demon Lord Shur could not release his demonic consciousness, but looking at the strange abyss, he was puzzled. What is this place? It looks like... It is not the demonic world. That when Zhou risked his life to teleport the demonic blood spirit bead here. What is he trying to do? Vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, give it a tip, and thank you for all of your support. Thank you to Blooming Blossoms Dying Blossoms for your tip. Chapter 49-21. However, after a moment Demon Venerable Shur understood. Because although the blood fiend spiritual pearl was in the abyss, it seemed to be drifting disorderly with the spatial storm, but it was drifting in a direction, as if there was a suction force that surpassed space that was pulling the blood fiend spiritual pearl. Haha. The demon lord laughed. Looking at the bottom of the abyss, he laughed maniacally. Looks like this lord is an uninvited guest. This lord would like to see what these demon bastards want to do here. The place where the blood fiend spiritual pearl was drifting was an irregular spatial fragment. This spatial fragment looked no different from other spatial fragments. Its surface was uneven, and there were some strange sceneries coming from within. Moreover, when this fragment rotated with the spatial storm at the bottom of the abyss, there were also fluctuations coming from the edges of the fragment. However, occasionally, when the spatial fragment flipped, a layer of faint, almost invisible devil flame would spurt out from the point of contact between the two surfaces that seemed to have been cut by a knife. Within the demon flame, circles of black and white demon mark could be seen. The demon mark released a strange suction force that surpassed the spatial storm and landed on the demon mark on the surface of the blood fiend's spiritual pearl. "What's going on?" A voice that was even softer than a mosquito's sounded from the demon flame. Not to mention that the entire abyss was shrouded in spatial storms. Even in the quiet night, if one did not pay attention, one would not be able to hear it. Within this irregular spatial fragment, a demon wearing a set of demon armor, and with a body that was over 1,000 feet tall was looking at the pentagonal demon mark above his head. He was whispering anxiously. It was hard to tell what shape this demon had. It was neither human nor beast. There were all kinds of ferocious-looking demon heads on the demon armor. Only under the demon helmet, there was a blood-red hole that emitted cryptic demon language. "We've been scheming for nearly 4,000 years, and finally found 49 clans with bloodlines different from ordinary cultivators. Now we've gathered the blood essence of nearly 9 million human cultivators from 48 clans. We're only missing the last blood evil spirit pearl condensed by the 170,000 human cultivators from the one clan on Coiling Dragon Mountain. We can't let anything go wrong." An obscure voice came from afar. The demon clan's demon helmet turned and looked at the other side of the space. He saw that this space was similar to the inside of the blood fiend's spiritual pearl. It was also filled with demon chi and bloody light. At the top of the space, there were 48 blood fiend spiritual pearls of different shades, but identical shapes floating everywhere. Under each of the 48 blood demon spirit pearls, there was a similarly shapeless devil clan. Under the light of the blood demon spirit pearls, these devil clan members were surrounded by blood shadows. Each blood shadow swayed with the light. They were either devil clan members or devil clan members. The voice came from the mouth of a demon. Demon. The demon in demon armor looked at the demon shadow and said coldly, "Don't worry. Yuku's blood fiend spirit pearl has already been successfully refined, and he has already activated the blood demon push." "Humph, you have already said this 7 times. One of the demon beasts snorted coldly. "We are all within the blood fiend returning to Hu formation, and we can feel the power of the last blood fiend spiritual pearl. If we didn't use the blood fiend spiritual pearl to guide it, do you think that Yuku's blood fiend spiritual pearl would be able to cross half of the Elin continent to reach the heaven sacrificial abyss?" "That's right. The problem is that the blood fiend spiritual pearl should have returned to its place long ago." The demon person who spoke earlier continued, "If we miss this time, we will have to wait another 1,000 years to revive Demon Lord Ju." Speaking of Demon Lord Ju, all the demons retracted the demon flame around them and looked down. Far below them there was a vast sea of demon chi. In the demon chi there were blood fiend spiritual pearls flashing like fish. In the center of the demon chi there was a demon body that was more than 10,000 feet tall. It was like an island in the sea, majestic and unmoving. Although the demon body was not complete, it could be seen clearly. This demon body looked like a cow but not a cow, like a horse but not a horse. Wasn't this the Di Luo that Xiao Hua saw in the 1,000-feet mountain cave? However, the place where the Di Luo's head used to be was now empty. An extremely dim blood fiend spiritual pearl rushed out from Di Luo's demon body and condensed into a blurry shadow in that empty place. However, a kind of chi that was as solid as a rock and as vast as the sky leaked out from this broken demon body and covered the entire space. These demons did not dare to get close to this demon body. Even when they looked at it, a kind of longing and a kind of subservience arose in their hearts. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At the moment when the demons looked at the demon body, a sea breeze seemed to blow. The vast demon chi suddenly rolled up and rushed to the sky like a storm. The Een astral moment has arrived. A demon in the shadow of a demon beast hurriedly said, "What should we do?" Following this sentence, the 48 demons all looked at the center of the blood fiend returning formation. There, a demon beast whose demon body was obviously bigger than the other demons was under the influence of the blood fiend returning formation. The demon flame around his body, along with the demon chi, rose to a height of nearly 1,000 feet. We're not waiting anymore. The demon beast did not hesitate at all. It seemed that he had made a decision long ago. He said, "We've sent the 48 Blood Fiend spiritual pearls from all over the Elin continent to this place. This has already attracted the attention of the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance. If we don't activate the demon formation this time, I'm afraid we won't have another chance in the future. As for the Blood Fiend spiritual pearl of the One family, I'm afraid that if something goes wrong, the cultivators of the Tao Alliance will follow the Blood Fiend spiritual pearl and chase after us. Although we can't completely revive Demon Master Ju, as long as Demon Master Ju can wake up, we'll have done a great service." As the demon race spoke, the demonic aura below them began to condense into a pillar of chi that gradually extended into the sky. Above the demon race's heads, an extremely cold and dark energy was also born, passing through the fragment and entering the space. Looking at the demon master's still corpse, it seemed to have been disturbed. It actually began to sway, as if it wanted to rise. Holy! All of a sudden, the leader of the demons let out an angry roar, emitting a strange rhythm. Then he opened his mouth, and a human-shaped blood shadow rushed out from the demonic light, directly landing on the Blood Fiend spirit pearl above his head. Sage! Following the demon beast leader's roar, the 46 demons were all shocked, and each of them sent the Blood Fiend spiritual pearl. Buzz buzz buzz. The 48 Blood Fiend spiritual pearls shone brightly with blood-red light, flying towards the source of the Yin energy. At the same time, the demon chi that had originally condensed into a huge pillar was also attracted by the Blood Fiend spiritual pearl's blood-red light, turning into 48 demon pillars and entering the Blood Fiend spiritual pearl. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, give it as a reward, and once again, thank you to Cabbage, Blossoming Blossom Withering Flower, East Becomes West Old Benben, as well as all the fellow Taoists who supported the third place winner. Chapter 49-22. Boom boom boom. Like meteorites landing on the ground, 48 loud sounds came from above the Blood Demon Spirit Pearl. When the Yin energy was hit by the Blood Demon Spirit Pearl, it was as if the transparent water was dyed with blood. 48 huge demonic marks suddenly appeared, and then gathered above the demon ancestor's body. In just a moment, the 48 demonic marks gathered together, and actually formed a demonic mark that covered the entire space. The Yin energy above the demonic mark rumbled, and the demonic mark produced an indescribable fluctuation. This fluctuation tore apart the space near the demonic mark, and the demonic mark began to distort. Under the demonic mark, the bloodline power and soul power that could tear apart Xiaohua's body condensed together. Following the distortion of the demonic mark, the two mysterious powers of heaven and earth began to pass through the space and fell on the demon ancestor's body that was gradually rising. As the bloodline power and soul power penetrated the demon ancestor's body, the demon ancestor's body gradually revealed the color of blood. Moreover, the faint aura from before became extremely dense. At this moment, a sharp screech came from the side of the Yin energy. The last blood demon spirit pearl that had almost lost all of its blood color finally passed through the abyss and came out from the space crack and fell into the fragment space. Holy! The last demon ancestor had been standing at the side of the fragment space and waiting. Seeing the blood demon spirit pearl coming, he didn't have time to examine it carefully. He roared and opened his mouth. Woo! The blood light immediately rushed into the sky and landed on the blood demon spirit pearl. However, what made the demon ancestor stunned was that when the blood light landed, the blood demon spirit pearl didn't emit blood light like the other 48 blood demon spirit pearls. Instead, when the blood light landed on the blood demon spirit pearl, Kacha, a series of dull cracking sounds came from the blood demon spirit pearl. Under the demon ancestor's stunned eyes, cracks appeared on the surface of the blood demon spirit pearl that was covered with demonic marks. What is going on? The demon ancestor was stunned and didn't know what to do. Boom! At this moment, the sound of an explosion suddenly came out. The blood demon spirit pearl actually broke into pieces. Kahaka! A burst of arrogant laughter came out from the broken blood demon spirit pearl. Following this laughter, A majestic aura that was even more vast and mighty than the demon ancestors rippled out from the blood demon spirit pearl. In an instant it covered the entire space. Demon Lord? Not to mention this demon, even the 48 demons in the spatial fragment were at a complete loss. Murderous demon flew out from the blood bead. His body immediately swelled up, and in just a blink of an eye, he had become a few thousand feet tall. Demon Venerable sure didn't need to look in any other direction. He immediately looked at Demon Venerable Ju's remains and couldn't help but sneer. Demon Venerable's remains? Haha, who would have thought that there would still be the remains of the Demon Realm's Demon Lord in the Yilan continent? As Demon Venerable sure laughed, he raised his head to look at the sky. Seeing the 48 blood droplets, as well as the power of the bloodline, the power of the soul, and the power of the Een astral force, the smile on Demon Venerable Sure's face became even wider. He could not help but cry out, "This is great, this sovereign was just worried about where to get enough blood spirit energy. This is great, this is all ready-made, even if Big Brother knows, he will definitely not blame this sovereign." After speaking, Demon Venerable Sure opened his mouth. Woo! A stream of demonic chi mixed with blood rushed out, instantly turning into 48 demons, madly pouncing towards the 49 demons. These 49 demons were at most at the Demon Commander or Demon King level. How could they be a match for Demon Venerable Sure? When the blood demons rushed over, these demons all exploded into blood and entered the mouths of the demons. Immediately, the 48 blood demons rushed into the blood demon spirit pearls, and all of the blood demon spirit pearls spun even more crazily than before. Almost limitless Een astral force, souls, and bloodline continuously flowed into Demon Venerable Sure's body. Demon Venerable Sure blocked Demon Venerable Ju's remains, and the remains naturally fell from the sky, landing in the sea of demonic chi. It was still like an uninhabited island floating alone. A few years passed in the blink of an eye. Seeing that the luster of the dozens of blood fiend spiritual pearls was becoming transparent, and the unparalleled Een astral force was gradually weakening, Demon Venerable Sure grinned and laughed. "Big brother, come out quickly. If you are any later, the souls of these humans will also be devoured by this little brother." After speaking, the demonic chi on the surface of Demon Venerable Sure's body quickly shrank, and the moment Xiaohua's body appeared, Shua, another demonic light flashed, and Demon Venerable Sure flew out from Xiaohua's bloodline. Xiaohua's mind came out from the space. Looking left and right, golden light flashed around his body, transforming into a Taoist robe. When Demon Venerable Sure devoured the blood demon spirit pearls, Xiaohua already knew everything that happened in the space fragment. He lowered his head to look at Demon Venerable Ju's remains, and frowned. "Sure, do you know anything from the memories of those demons?" Demon Venerable Sure shrugged, smiled and said, "Little brother already told Big Brother everything I know. As for why Demon Venerable Ju's remains are here, little brother doesn't know." Is this thing useful to you?" Xiaohua asked thoughtfully. If little brother didn't use the laws of heaven and earth to condense the body, this thing would naturally be useful. After little brother devours it, not only can it refine the demonic body, it can also devour the cultivation of this Demon Venerable. Demon Venerable Sure smiled and said, "But now, if little brother uses it to refine the demonic body, it will be neglecting the essentials. Moreover, this Demon Venerable's cultivation, to be honest, is much lower than little brother's, so there's no harm in not devouring it." "That's good." Xiaohua smiled and said, "If you don't have any use for it, give it to Zhongqing Xiao." Of course, Demon Venerable Sure nodded. Big brother's second senior brother is little brother's second senior brother. Previously, Big brother told little brother to leave some blood demon spirit pearls. Little brother understood. "Since that's the case, keep these things. We will rush to Wumeng Mountain Range." Xiaohua smiled and ordered. Demon Venerable Sure raised his hand and grabbed, and 48 blood demon spirit pearls fell into his demonic palm. Demon Venerable Sure withdrew his demonic palm, and a burst of demonic chi surged, and dozens of blood demon spirit pearls actually condensed into one. "Go!" Demon Venerable Sure waved his hand again, and the blood demon spirit pearl fell into the sky. Up! Demon Venerable Sure opened his mouth again, and spat out a mouthful of demonic blood, hitting the blood demon spirit pearl, and an even more mysterious demonic pattern than before appeared. At the same time, the blood demon spirit pearl slowly rotated, and actually turned into a fist-sized whirlpool, and the sea of demonic chi instantly rushed into the whirlpool. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qijian to subscribe to support, vote for a month, vote for a recommendation, collect, reward. Thank you for all forms of support. Thank you Benben, lovely broken string, sunset cloud flight and other fellow Taoists. I don't have any more chapters. Chapter 49-23. Xiao Hua had only absorbed a small part of the demonic qi, but the remains of the demon Venerable Ju had already begun to appear. When Di Luo's hoof fell into Xiao Hua's eyes, roar! A dragon-like roar suddenly came out from the remains of Di Luo demon Venerable Shi, and Xiao Hua's complexion changed at the same time. They looked at each other and said in unison, "Demon blade murder?" Sure enough, as the man and the demon cried out in alarm, a pitch-black saber tip eerily appeared from the demonic energy. This saber tip didn't seem real at all, as if it were in this space and also outside of this space. The space around the saber tip twisted and even light that fell into the saber tip was cut in half, unable to reflect any light at all. From the blade tip, a sky-piercing murderous aura appeared. This aura was exactly the same as the demon blade murder that had fused with Xiao Hua's left hand before. Roar! When the blade tip of the demon blade murder appeared, it immediately produced a dragon-like roar. The blade tip flashed and was about to cut open the space fragment and rush out. How could the demon Venerable Shi let the fat meat in his hand slip away? He raised his hand and the demon blade murder that had already fused with him appeared. A wave of murderous aura that could engulf the heaven and earth gushed out and fused with the blade tip's aura. Roar! The blade tip whistled again. This time it seemed to be filled with joy. It changed its direction and pounced on the demon blade murder. With a crisp sound, the blade tip landed on the broken part of the broken blade and perfectly fused with it. Immediately, an even more ferocious aura rushed out from the demon blade murder. Not only did it fill up the space, it even penetrated the void and penetrated into the abyss outside of the space fragment. Gotcha! The sound of thunder rose again. A strange pitch-black lightning appeared on top of the space fragment. Countless light shadows twisted and fell down with a loud bang. Xiao Hua was originally happy for the demon Venerable Shi, but the moment the blade tip touched the broken blade, a mysterious feeling came from his left arm. A completely different world law from Xiao Hua's body quietly appeared. Xiao Hua couldn't help but exclaim, "Ouch! What's going on?" However, he didn't have time to look anymore. Demon Venerable Shi's left arm gushed out a wave of demonic qi and blood light, and the demon blade murder and the blade tip were absorbed into his body. Shua! Above his head, the strange lightning disappeared like the wind. The light shadows also disappeared into the void. Interesting. Xiao Hua did not pay attention to Demon Lord Shi. Instead, he was comprehending a different part of the laws of heaven and earth on his left arm. He thought to himself, this part of the laws of heaven and earth must belong to Demon Blade Shi. But hadn't the demonic saber Shi already fused with the demon sovereign Shi? Why is there an additional law in this Zhao's left arm? Moreover, this law seems to be a little messy and not complete. Presumably, it's because the devil saber murder wasn't completely refined. Thinking up to here, Xiao Hua was suddenly startled, and a thought flashed through his mind. This thought was like a bolt of lightning that illuminated his thoughts. If this law is the devil's saber murder, then repairing the devil's saber murder is repairing this law. Then, wasn't refining slaughter devil saber the same as refining a Dao law? Where did the murderous devil blade, this law, come from? Could it be that these were the materials used to refine the demonic saber murder? Could the materials also be some laws? If these laws were fused together with the demon realm's blood refining technique to form a new law, would this law become the demonic blade murder? If that's the case, then all magic tools, demonic tools, imperial tools, and so on, and even spirit pills, wouldn't they all be a kind of heaven and earth law? It's just that because the heaven and earth law isn't the same, the amount of profoundness contained in the law is different, the forms they manifest are also different, and the magnitude of their power is also different. If that's the case, then wouldn't everything in this world be condensed from the law? It's not only this Zhao's body that's like this, but the bodies of other cultivators and the bodies of people in the secular world should also be like this. Xiao Hua truly had a feeling that with a single thought, all thoughts were born. Or perhaps the cultivation of us cultivators is to find the law within the body and strengthen this law? And in the end, like this Zhao's body that is completely constructed from the law, Xiaohua was just thinking about it excitedly. Whoa, whoa. A strange chanting sound suddenly came from the demon sovereign Ju's broken body, and then he saw a myriad of pure and holy brilliance rush out from the remnant devil qi in the air like sharp swords. Within the brilliance, there were unknown tree branches, flowing streams and small winged spirit bodies appearing. A pure and holy aura also leaked out from this illusory figure, tenaciously strengthening in the space where the devil qi was wreaking havoc. This? Xiaohua stopped thinking, and when his gaze fell on the pure and holy brilliance, he couldn't help but be stunned. A feeling of disbelief appeared in his heart, but he also had a kind of absolute premonition that he seemed to have thought of something. Immediately after, he hurriedly looked at the demon sovereign Ju's broken body that was covered in the pure and holy brilliance. Sure enough, the originally faint demon sovereign aura now poured out from the broken body like a flood. That aura controlled the devil qi and turned it into countless devil marks, turning them into ferocious devils that covered the sky and earth as they fell towards the brilliance. And within the pure and holy brilliance, the originally pure spirit bodies instantly transformed into battle generals wearing battle armor, chanting battle songs as they rushed towards the devils. For a moment the pitch-black devil fists and the pure and holy brilliance tangled together, and the entire space was filled with a dense aura of life and death. Damn it! Seeing that the pure and holy brilliance pierced through the devil qi and landed on the demon sovereign Ju's broken body, the devil marks on the broken body either resisted or collapsed, and the originally broken body began to collapse even more. Xiaohua cursed in a low voice, and raised his head to look at the demon sovereign Shi. The demon sovereign Shi was also stunned at this moment. He also looked at the pure and holy brilliance in disbelief, and a trace of innate fear actually appeared in his eyes. Xiaohua shouted, "Shi, at this point, what are you still hesitating for? Damn it!" Xiaohua's words woke the demon sovereign Shi up. He couldn't help but grin and shout, "Big brother, could it be that this little brother saw wrongly? Isn't this the Holy Light Realm's holy light? How can there be holy light in the Yilin continent?" Hearing the demon sovereign Shi's words, Xiaohua's face was filled with doubt, but he did not say much and anxiously shouted, "There's no need to say any more. Quickly take away the demon sovereign Ju's body. This demon sovereign's body is extremely important to Zhongqing Shao." The demon sovereign Shi chuckled, "Don't worry, big brother. Although the Holy Light Realm's holy light is the same as the Buddhist light of the Buddhist sect, and is the natural nemesis of the demon clan, this holy light is clearly released by some kind of holy artifact. It originally had no owner, so how could it be a match for this little brother? Let's see how this little brother will destroy this holy artifact." P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a month, vote for a recommendation, collect, reward, and thank you for all forms of support. Also, I didn't have a full subscription group before, but under the suggestion of a fellow Taoist, I created a WeChat full subscription group. Before entering, please contact the Cultivation Gods Customer Services WeChat, XYCQ1186258881CU, and ask him to add all of you who have fully subscribed. Chapter 49-24. While speaking, Demon Lord Shi waved his left hand, and Demon Blade Shi let out an explosive sound, and an extremely fierce black light immediately appeared. "Don't be anxious." Xiaohua's heart moved and he hurriedly said, "Just protect Demon Lord Ju's body. Big brother will go down and take a look." Demon Lord Shi was startled, and he was somewhat hesitant. Although he was not afraid of this holy light, he was still unwilling to see a holy weapon that could emit holy light in this world. However, since Xiaohua had spoken, Demon Lord Shi had no reason to not agree. He hurriedly shouted, "All right, big brother, be careful." While speaking, Demon Lord Shi withdrew his blade, and threw Demon Blade Shi to Demon Lord Ju's side. Oh! Countless demonic qi and blood demons roared as they rushed out from Demon Blade Shi, and crazily pounced towards the holy light. What was special was that the demonic qi that was fighting with the holy light was also boiling, as if it had seen its reinforcements, and it was energized as it pounced into the holy light. In just a moment, all of the holy light was suppressed by the demonic qi, and the entire space was once again filled with the smell of blood. Xiaohua slightly frowned, and urged his body to enter the demonic qi. After passing through the area where the demonic chi and the holy light were fighting, he finally arrived at a place of light. This place of light was not big, and was much smaller than the space enveloped by the demonic chi. When Xiaohua entered, a burst of hymns immediately sounded in his ears, and a spirit body with a pair of transparent wings hovered around him. Similarly, a bunch of unknown tree branches also appeared around him. A kind of otherworldly, holy, quiet, and peaceful feeling emerged from the bottom of Xiaohua's heart. This is the angel that Vairocana Buddha spoke of? Xiaohua squinted his eyes and looked at the spirit body and thought to himself, these spirit bodies are like children, and they look much cuter than the Buddhist sect's fairies. What is this song? Why does it sound like the Buddhist sect's scriptures, and it gives off a sense of tranquility? What does this water flow mean? After looking for a moment, Xiaohua released his divine sense, wanting to check the situation of the space, but when he released his divine sense he found something strange. This space was different from the space enveloped by devil chi. Divine sense was somewhat restricted like some milk. However, Xiaohua's divine sense was strong enough that these restrictions were nothing. With a sweep of his divine sense he could see everything within the space. In the blink of an eye, the previously adorable children's appearances had changed greatly. After Xiaohua's divine sense swept over them, the children's figures suddenly swelled up and transformed into robust human figures. However, this humanoid figure looked like a man and looked like a general. Strange armor appeared on the surface of the bodies of these battle generals. Those transparent wings became thicker and longer. Long spears appeared in the hands of these battle generals. Within the light, thousands of battle generals had already formed a battle formation, as though they were on guard. Not to mention that these so-called war generals were merely spiritual projections in the holy light. Even if they were real spiritual bodies, how could Xiaohua fear them? Xiaohua only smiled faintly. With a wave of his hand he blocked the holy light. The thousands of spiritual projections were annihilated, and the figure fell into the space. This was because he could already clearly see that at the bottom of the space, there was a fist-sized vessel. The holy light in the entire space was emitting from this vessel. However, Xiaohua still underestimated this vessel. When he was only 100 zhang away from the vessel, ha ha ha. Another resounding hymn pierced into Xiaohua's heart like a long spear. Countless waves of holy light overflowed from the vessel. Within these waves, a human figure wearing a pure white robe stood on top of the vessel. This human figure's appearance was not very clear, but that pair of eyes full of compassion and pity were abnormally clear. Moreover, at the corner of those eyes, there was a faint teardrop. Following the appearance of this human figure, a burst of heaven and earth power spontaneously appeared and blocked Xiaohua's advance. Xiaohua was a little shocked. Right now, although he had not recovered his 10th grade essence power, he still had the strength of a middle 9th grade essence power. How could a normal spiritual treasure's aura possibly block his advance? Xiaohua could not help but secretly ponder. Who is this human figure? Why does a mere projection have such power? This holy light realm is a little strange. No wonder this saint artifact was suppressed under the demon lord's remnant body. After looking for a while, Xiaohua raised his hand and saluted. Not caring if that projection could hear him, he looked into the eyes of that human figure and said, "Fellow Taoist, I Xiaohua greet you. Although I do not know what kind of almighty you are from the holy light realm, nor do I know what kind of saint artifact this vessel is. However, I do not have any evil intentions. I want to suppress the demon lord's body, so I cannot avoid releasing this saint artifact. And since this saint artifact is being suppressed, I believe that releasing this saint artifact will have a bad influence on the Dao sects of the Yilin continent. Therefore, I want to keep this saint artifact. In the future, if I have the fate to meet fellow Taoists from the Holy Light Realm, I will return this saint artifact to the Holy Light Realm." Xiaohua had a clear conscience, and his gaze was naturally clear. As he spoke, his eyelids did not even blink. What was a little strange was that as Xiaohua's voice landed, the hymn actually calmed down, and the spiritual body in the light figure once again turned into a child. "Then I will make my move." As Xiaohua spoke, he slowly raised his hand. Rumble. In the midst of a huge explosion, a hand of lightning light produced a strong restriction, imprisoning the space around the vessel. Once the restriction was in place, The hymn above the vessel once again became incomparably sharp. The holy light was extremely resplendent, as if it was going to pierce through the void. Even the gaze of that human figure of light changed a little. My apologies. As Xiaohua spoke, he suddenly activated his magic power. Ooh! As if crying, as if in grief, the holy light was suddenly annihilated. That human figure of light also collapsed, entering the vessel. Once the light disappeared, the demonic energy and blood figure above Xiaohua's head loudly fell, enveloping the entire space. However, after a few breaths, the surging demonic energy like a receding tide fell into Demon Sovereign Ju's remnant body. Demon Sovereign Sure opened his mouth, and a blood light fell. Demon Sovereign Sure's remnant body rapidly shrank, turning into the size of a palm, and was sealed in a blood crystal. The Sacred Light Realm's artifact fell into Xiaohua's hand. A sweet fragrance wafted out from the artifact. This fragrance carried a medicinal smell. Xiaohua looked at it and didn't think too much about it. He also sealed it with his hand and threw it into the space. Big brother. Demon Sovereign Sure happily landed, and said with a smile, "Little brother is fortunate to have not failed you." As he spoke, Demon Sovereign Sure handed the blood crystal to Xiaohua. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qijian to subscribe to support, cast a monthly vote, cast a recommendation vote, collect a gift, and thank you for all forms of support. In addition, I didn't have a full subscription group before, but under the suggestion of a fellow Taoist, I created a WeChat full subscription group. Before entering, please contact the Cultivation Gods customer service on WeChat XYCQ1186258881CU and let him add you to the full subscription group. Chapter 49-25. Many thanks. Xiaohua also threw the blood crystal into the space. The demon-slaying body trembled, and he hurriedly said, "Big brother is too polite with me. You are me, and I am you." Xiaohua smiled and asked, "How is the demon saber?" Although the demon saber is complete, it still needs to be refined. Demon Venerable Sure hurriedly replied, however, refining the demon saber is far from being done in the Yilin continent. As far as I know, even the demon world can't do it. Another heavy responsibility. Xiaohua looked around and smiled. "I'll leave this to you. Big brother can't help you." "Big brother, don't worry. I will definitely refine the demon saber." Demon Venerable Sure patted his chest and promised. Moreover, Big brother's strength hasn't recovered, and the others haven't woken up yet. In the future, you will have to protect Big brother. Xiaohua said seriously to Demon Venerable Sure. Demon Venerable Sure's body trembled, and he looked at Xiaohua and said, "Big brother, you trust me so much?" "Yes, why wouldn't I trust you? You are my little brother." Xiaohua said with a smile, "If Big brother doesn't trust you, who else can I trust?" I thought. Demon Venerable Sure had mixed feelings, and his slightly inferior but arrogant heart couldn't help but tremble. Xiaohua knew what Demon Venerable Sure wanted to say. He said meaningfully, "Buddha Bodhi is the primordial spirit that I personally split, and he is also one of my clones. Back then, I had many doubts in the higher bound, and I made him feel wronged. Although you are not my primordial spirit, you are still my avatar. Don't you feel it? You used the blood shadow art to refine your body, and now you are using the laws of heaven and earth to condense your spirit. You already have an unbreakable connection with me. You and the heavenly being Lightning Sage, and the others are all the masters of my fortune gate." "Yes, I understand." Demon Venerable Sure nodded proudly. "I won't think too much in the future. As the demon world's Demon Venerable, where can I not dominate? I just like being with big brothers." "Sweat," Xiaohua said while holding his forehead with one hand. "Us brothers are of the same mind. In the future, no matter where we go, we will definitely be the overlords of a region. Could it be that you want to run away just because a celestial said a few words to you?" Little brother knows. Big brothers were just joking with little brother." Demon Venerable Sure immediately smiled mischievously, looking even more shameless than Zhang Qingxiao. "Isn't little brother just teasing big brother? Alright, let's not talk about this anymore." Xiaohua waved his hand. "Big brother, let me ask you. Where is this place in the Yilin continent? How do we get to the Wuming mountain range?" "Okay, I'll let big brother know." Demon Honorable Sure immediately giggled and replied seriously, "This is the bottom of the Yilin continent's extremely famous heaven sacrificial abyss." "Oh, extremely famous?" Xiaohua pinched his chin and asked curiously. After all, he had never seen any records of the heaven sacrificial abyss in the Chanhe sect. Demon Venerable Sure laughed and said, "Chanhe sect is just a sect the size of a fingernail. How could they know about heaven sacrificial abyss? This heaven sacrificial abyss is the boundary between the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance." "Stop." Xiaohua hurriedly asked again. "You said this is the boundary between the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance? How did we get teleported so far away? This Heaven Alliance is an immortal alliance that can go against the Tao Alliance. What kind of power does it have?" Xiaohua's words had some things that he was clear of, some things that he was not clear of. He said everything in one go, clearly trying to get rid of some of the taboos in Demon Venerable Sure's heart. "My demon race has countless secret techniques. A baleful blood bead that can hold a spirit body, going from whatever Panlong mountain to the heaven sacrificial abyss is nothing." Demon Venerable Sure replied proudly, "And according to the information that little brother received, this Heaven Alliance is an alliance formed by Tao cultivators who cultivate primordial spirits. There are 72 immortal alliances under them, which are enemies with the Tao Alliance." "Oh, the Tao Alliance is an alliance formed by Tao cultivators who cultivate the primordial spirits. There are 81 immortal alliances under them. Fengyan Country's Fallen Immortal Sect is a member of Tsupu Immortal Alliance, while Tsupu Immortal Alliance belongs to the Tao Alliance. As for the Chanhe Sect, although they are within the Tsupu Immortal Alliance's sphere of influence, they do not belong to the Tsupu Immortal Alliance." Following which, Demon Venerable Sure told Xiao Hua the fragmented information that he obtained from the memories of 10 over demons. Of course, Xiao Hua could directly obtain this information from Demon Venerable Sure through his mind. However, he was still willing to tell Demon Venerable Sure every single word, because Xiao Hua felt that the current Demon Venerable Sure was the same as the other clones. He could already be seen as an independent individual. He had to give them sufficient respect. After Xiao Hua heard this, he nodded his head and said, "So the Tao sects in the Yilin continent are actually so prosperous. Previously, I thought that the entire Yilin continent was ruled by the Tao Alliance." At this point, Xiao Hua suddenly thought of something and hurriedly asked, "If that's the case, then is that Tsupu Immortal Alliance the Tao Alliance or the Heaven Alliance?" This Demon Venerable Sure hesitated for a moment, then shrugged his shoulders and said, "Little brother does not know. These little demons don't seem to know much. Furthermore, when they were being possessed, their memories were more or less fragmented. If Big Brother wants to know, little brother can help Big Brother find out after we go out." Xiao Hua naturally knew better than anyone else what Demon Venerable Sure's method of finding out information was. How could he dare to let Demon Venerable Sure do it? Thus he smiled and said, "You are a Demon Venerable. How could Big Brother not treat you as a supreme cultivator? We are merely passers-by in the Yilin continent. There is no need for us to know too much about the Yilin continent situation. Big Brother has already checked just now. Big Brother is still unable to use the spatial evasion technique. However, there is no harm in using the lightning evasion technique. As long as we find the direction of the Wumeng mountain range, we can fly over." Hearing that Xiao Hua was not willing to let him go find out information, Demon Venerable Sure was very happy. He hurriedly offered a plan and said, "However, Big Brother, we do not know how to go from the Wumeng mountain range to the Dawn Rain continent's spatial tunnel. Don't you remember what you said before? Someone from that Tsupu Immortal Alliance passed through the Wumeng mountain range's natural restriction. Little brother feels that we should first find Tsupu Immortal Alliance and see how they pass through the natural restriction." That's right, that's right." Xiao Hua clapped his hands and said, "You are right. Big Brother is too anxious. Counting the days, we still have a lot of time. Now, only the Wumeng mountain range is left. We must be careful and not fall short. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qijian. Vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, give it as a reward. And in addition, there was no all-subscription group before. Under the suggestion of a fellow Taoist, I created a WeChat all-subscription group. Before entering, please contact the Cultivation Gods customer service on WeChat, XYCQ1186258810, and ask him to add all the fellow Taoists who have all subscription. Chapter 49-26. At this point, Xiaohua looked left and right. Outside the spatial fragment, the scenery had already changed. An inexplicable spatial storm mixed with a strange spatial ripple was wreaking havoc in the surroundings. Light and shadow changed and created many illusions. Xiaohua smiled again and said, "Since this heaven sacrificial abyss is a natural barrier that separates the Tao Union and the Heaven Union, it will be troublesome to get out of here. Do you have any ideas?" "Leave it to little brother." Demon Venerable Shijiang thumped his chest loudly and shouted, "Little brother has just found out that there is a black demon path that leads to the outside of the abyss from this space fragment. It was built by these demon bastards with great effort. These demon race have spent a lot of effort. You have let them down by devouring them." Xiaohua looked at Demon Lord Shi and raised his hand to point out a few demon patterns. Those demon patterns landed in a corner of the space and immediately started to spin. He smiled and said, "They want to revive this Demon Lord Ju. Aren't you more powerful than this Demon Lord?" The Demon Lord Shi opened his mouth and said, "Big brother, it is their fortune to be devoured by this Demon Lord. Why do you think they want to revive this Demon Lord Ju? It is to be devoured by this Demon Lord Ju. Forget it. Forget it." Xiaohua smiled bitterly and waved his hand. "This is your demon race's matter. Big brother doesn't understand. You can do whatever you want." The demonic pattern spun rapidly, and after a moment, it condensed into several funnel-like vortexes, which were extremely similar to the ones Xiaohua had seen in the Panlong Mountain. In the end, the vortexes collided with each other, and the power of the demonic pattern hit the void. Puff! The sound of a bubble bursting was heard, and a blood-red passageway that was only a few feet wide appeared in the void. Demon Lord Shi pointed at the blood-red tunnel and smiled, "Big brother. This is my demon race's black demon path. Only the demon race's demon body can pass through. Big brother should have no problem, right? If you can pass through, Big brother can too." Xiaohua nodded and looked at Demon Lord Shi's body spinning like a whirlwind. The entire demon body condensed into demon qi and rushed into the black demon path. After the demon sovereign was killed, Xiaohua also activated his devil technique. As the devil qi around his body twisted, a suction force was born from the black demon path. Xiaohua's figure swayed, and he also entered the black demon path. Above the void fragment, a curvy strand of demon qi strangely passed through the gaps between the void fragment. It swayed left and right in the spatial storm like a string of a kite, and one end of the string plunged deep into a certain part of the abyss. Looking above the abyss, beyond the layers of fragments under the cover of the sun and moon, there were several more passages 10,000 feet wide across the abyss. Outside the passages, layers of talismans were stacked together, and layers of spiritual energy fluctuations intertwined. Rays of light formed a barrier that firmly protected the passages. On one side of the passage, more than a dozen cultivators at the spirit severing stage were holding magic treasures and patrolling in an orderly manner. On the other side of the passage, there were more than a dozen cultivators with similar strength standing there, constantly monitoring the movements of the passage. Xiaohua's figure fell into the black demon path, and a force that was close to the teleportation pressure fell. Then he saw spots of fine lines appear in the nearby space. These fine lines revealed black and white light, and at the same time, there were threads of blood permeating this light. In just a few minutes, Xiaohua felt his body become light, and the moonlight in front of him was like a painting. The demon sovereign had been waiting in the air for a long time. At this time his body had shrunk, and he was like a cloud of faint black fog floating there. Even if ordinary cultivators scanned him with their divine sense, they wouldn't be able to detect him. Seeing Xiaohua come out, the demon sovereign raised his hand and pointed in a direction. He hurriedly said, "Big brother. There is another black demon path 100,000 miles ahead of us. I don't know where it will be teleported to. Do you think we should use that black demon path or the teleportation formation of the Heaven Alliance?" Xiaohua thought for a moment and said, "Let's use the black demon path. After all, this place is very close to the Tao Alliance, and you and I are not familiar with the Heaven Alliance. If we encounter any interrogation, it will be quite troublesome." "Che." The demon sovereign snorted coldly and said, "Big brother is already a sovereign cultivator of the human race. Do you still need to worry about any trouble?" Xiaohua smiled and said, "Big brother is like this. He likes to avoid trouble. Moreover, you must know that this is the Elin continent where our Tao sect is at its peak. Who knows how many experts and sovereign cultivators there are in the Tao Alliance and Heaven Alliance? I remember that day in the 10,000 Demon Realm, when the Tao Heaven Realm was mentioned, even the Rapidcherry Grand Sage had a headache. You and I are not afraid of these cultivators, but there is no need to find trouble for ourselves, right? Alright, whatever Big Brother says. The Demon Sovereign nodded. If it was in the Demon Realm, I would definitely not be so humble. How is this called humble? Xiao Hua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This is called enduring humiliation. What enduring humiliation? It is clearly enduring humiliation. As the Demon Sovereign spoke, the demon chi around his body surged, and he turned into a black light and disappeared into the void. Damn it! When did you learn to be coquettish with the lightning, Reverend? Hearing the Demon Sovereign's face say a few idioms, which even led Xiao Hua's words to deviate, Xiao Hua couldn't help but laugh and scold. However, as he spoke, Xiao Hua also used the wind escape technique and chased after the Demon Sovereign. When he reached a place where there was no one, he used the lightning escape technique and left. In just half a day, the two arrived at a barren place. The Demon Sovereign easily found the entrance of the Black Demon Path from the swamp. After driving away some strange beasts, Xiao Hua and the Demon Sovereign once again entered the path. This time, the time of the teleportation was similar to the time of the Blood Fiend's Spiritual Pearl's teleportation. When they came out of the Black Demon Path, they were at the peak of a towering mountain. Contrary to Xiao Hua's expectations, the exit of the Black Demon Path was actually in a teleportation array that seemed to have been damaged long ago. As Xiao Hua and the Demon Sovereign flew out, the clear demon marks rolled up the demon chi and quickly converged into the talisman of the teleportation array. In just a few breaths, even if one used their divine sense to investigate, it would be difficult to find anything strange inside. And what was special was that Xiao Hua used his divine sense to investigate this teleportation array, and found that if this teleportation array was repaired, it could still be used. In other words, a long time ago, the Tao Sect's teleportation array was used together with the demon race's Black Demon Path. Sigh. Xiao Hua withdrew his divine sense and sighed. The more I cultivate, the more I feel that I am shallow. I always find that there are too many secrets in this world that I don't know. Even if I have a primordial spirit and cultivate 10 times more techniques than others, I always feel that what I have learned is just a drop in the ocean. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a month, vote for a recommendation, collect, reward, and thank you for all forms of support. In addition, I didn't have a full subscription group before. Under the suggestion of a fellow Taoist, I created a WeChat full subscription group. Before entering, please contact the Cultivation Gods Customer Services WeChat, XYCQ1186258881CU, and let him add all fellow Taoists who have a full subscription group. Chapter 49-27. Big Brother, aren't you trying to embarrass me? Demon Venerable sure was displeased. No matter what, I am still a devil spirit from the higher realm. But I didn't know that the devil race had such a secret technique like the Black Demon Path. My devil race from the higher realm either have spatial abilities, or simply use their bodies to break through space. Who would think of using the Black Demon Path? I think the Black Demon Path must have been borrowed from the Tao Sect's teleportation formation. I seem to have thought of a saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Xiao Hua laughed. If the devil race wants to hide among the Tao Sect cultivators and not learn from the human race, that won't do. Indeed. Demon Venerable sure did not laugh, but said seriously, from the incomplete memories of these devils, I know that they have lived in the Elin continent for a long time. Many of their habits and techniques seem to have changed. Oh, that's right. Xiao Hua suddenly thought of something and asked, how did these devils get to the Elin continent? Could it be that the Elin continent has a space crack similar to the one in the demon-resisting valley of the Xiaoyu continent? What is their purpose in coming to the Elin continent? The Elin continent doesn't have any demon-resisting valley. However, it seems like the Devil Realm and the Elin continent would overlap every 10,000 years. In this overlapping area, the human race can enter the Devil Realm, and the Devil race can also come to the Elin continent. Demon Venerable sure thought for a while and replied, These devils were left behind from the last time the world overlapped. As for their purpose, it seems like it really has something to do with Demon Venerable Jew. But as for what it is exactly, I don't know. However, I do know that the Elin continent is different from the devil realm. The devil race shouldn't have taken root here. When they come to the human realm, it's like the human race is hunting. Alright, no matter what it is, it has nothing to do with me. Xiaohua laughed. Taking advantage of this time, he had already released his divine sense and scanned the surrounding 10,000 li. He said, I have already discovered a big city of the human race. You can return to the space. I will go and scout for information. If there is a teleportation formation, I will directly take it to the Wumeng mountain range. I will listen to Big Brother's orders. Demon Venerable sure nodded. I can also go back and take a look at how to repair this devil blade. Maybe when I reach the Xiaoyu continent, I can help Big Brother. Alright. Xiaohua nodded. Just as the demon supremacy transformed into devil qi, and was about to return to the space, it suddenly stopped. A large head poked out of the devil qi and said, That's right, Big Brother. I remember you once said that Demon General Jipeng's clone saw your true appearance. Our demon clan has some divine abilities that allow the clone to transmit what it sees to the main body. If you want to obtain information about the Wuming Mountain Range from Demon General Jipeng, or the Liu Immortal Alliance, it's best that you transform into that ugly appearance. Damn it! Looking at the Demon Lord Shi's big head blinking at me and shrinking back into the devil qi, Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and scolded, What do you know, this is my true form. Ha ha ha. Although Demon Lord Shi had hidden himself in the space, his maniacal laughter was still heard in the Elin continent. Hearing Demon Lord Shi's joyful laughter, Xiaohua's heart also relaxed. Believing in a person, believing in a clone, believing in a demon clan's clone felt good. Hearing Demon Lord Shi's suggestion, Xiaohua transformed into Zhang Xiaohua's appearance and was about to fly to the big city in the distance. However, after flying for a few thousand feet, he remembered something and landed on a mountain. With a shake of his hand, he took out the Kunlun mirror and activated the light beam, bringing Yuhua and Lu Qingyu out of the space. Yuhua and Lu Qingyu steadied themselves and saw Xiaohua looking at them with a smile that wasn't a smile. They hurriedly bowed and said, Junior greets Senior Zhang. Many thanks to Senior Zhang for saving our lives. After saying that, Lu Qingyu looked to the left and said worriedly, Senior Zhang, where is Junior's disciple? Don't worry. Xiaohua said with a smile, all of you are fine. How could this old man let your obedient disciple hurt at all? That's good, that's good. Lu Qingyu said with a smile but stopped on second thought. Of course, Xiaohua knew what Lu Qingyu wanted to say. He said with a smile, the opportunity you are waiting for is different from his. When this old man and he part ways, I will naturally call him out. Part ways. Hearing that, Yuhua was a little anxious. She looked around and said anxiously, Senior, where are we? Don't you need me to wait for you? Haha. Xiaohua looked at the two and said with a smile, as the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. Now it's time to part ways. You and the others have formed ties of fate with this old man, so this old man will give you two choices. First, follow this old man and you don't have to go back to the Chanhe sect. In the future, the Chanhe sect will have nothing to do with you. Second, part ways with this old man here. This is a place of the Heavenly Alliance. This old man will send you to the nearest big city of the Immortal Alliance and give you enough crystals to let you go back to the Chanhe sect. Of course, if you choose to go back to the Chanhe sect, this old man will ask Nu Yeqing to come out and say goodbye to you. Hearing this, even a person with a screw loose understood Xiaohua's meaning. Yuhua and Lu Qingyu almost didn't dare to believe their ears. They hurriedly turned over and kowtowed. Junior greets Master. Don't be anxious, don't be anxious. Xiaohua smiled and said, this old man has already said the word Master before. It's not something you can call. All of you watch carefully. While speaking, Xiaohua withdrew the illusion technique and revealed Taoist Zhao's appearance. Moreover, he slightly revealed the strength of the middle 9th level of origin energy. Ah? Seeing Xiaohua revert to his original appearance, which was 100 times more handsome than before, and there was an indescribable grace between his brows. Needless to say, the aura of the ninth level of origin energy was as vast as the sea to Yu Hua and Lu Qingyu. The two of them couldn't help but cry out as they understood the meaning of Xiao Hua's words. Xiao Hua hurriedly withdrew his aura and helped the two of them up. He smiled and said, "This old man is the Fortune Gate sect master Xiao Hua, Taoist Xiao. This old man is not a cultivator of the Tao Union, nor a cultivator of the Heaven Union. This old man is a Tao sect cultivator from another world. As for why this old man came to the Yilin mainland, you don't need to ask. Someone will tell you in the future. Since you are willing to go with this old man will let this old man's disciple accept you." Saying this, Xiao Hua waved the Kunlun mirror and called out Li Xiang and Xiong Yi. The two nascent soul cultivators landed on the foot of the mountain. They didn't forget to look around and immediately bowed. "Greetings, Master." P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian. Vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, give it as a reward. And Chapter 49:28. And wait a moment. Xiao Hua nodded and pointed at Yu Hua and Lu Qingyu. "These are the two fated cultivators I met when I came from the 10,000 demon realm. Wait and see. Who accepted them as disciples?" "Master, wait a moment." Xiong Yi listened and said, "Let me see their aptitude." After Xiao Hua agreed, Xiong Yi walked in front of the two and ordered, "You two sit down cross-legged and cultivate." Seeing that Xiao Hua's disciples were nascent soul cultivators and their auras were several times stronger than Lu Hanhuan, Yu Hua and Lu Qingyu didn't dare to neglect and quickly sat down cross-legged. Seeing Xiong Yi examining the two, Li Xiang released his divine sense and looked around. He smiled and said, "Master, this Yilin continent looks similar to the hidden immortal continent. I guess it's not far from the Dawn Rain continent? Now I only need to pass through the Wuming mountain range to reach the Dawn Rain continent." Xiao Hua looked into the distance with a worried expression. However, this Wuming mountain range is not easy to pass. There are many supreme cultivators in the Yilin continent, but when I was in the Dawn Rain continent, I never heard of one. Moreover, the Immortal Tao Alliance in the Dawn Rain continent is only one of the 72 Immortal Tao Alliances in the Yilin continent. This Yilin continent is the place with hidden dragons and crouching tigers. "Oh, so." Li Xiang's eyes lit up and he smiled. "This Yilin continent is the place where my Fortune Gate's disciples should come? Actually, to tell you the truth, I already regret it." Xiao Hua didn't hide and said, "I should have left you in the 10,000 demon realm." Then, Xiao Hua told them about the changes in the Yilin continent's spiritual energy and the passing of lifespan. Finally, he said, "If you stay in the Yilin continent, the path of cultivation is really difficult. Moreover, the Tao Alliance here seems to be in a desperate situation." Unexpectedly, Li Xiang didn't have any special expression. He only smiled and said, "If that's the case, then we should go to the Dawn Rain continent. That's where Master was born. The Fortune Gate, there is also Master's face." "Master." At this moment, Xiong Yi had already finished his inspection. He returned and transmitted his voice. "These two people's aptitude is average. They might not be able to cultivate to the spirit-severing stage. I do not wish to accept them." "Haha, let me have a look." Although Li Xiang couldn't hear Xiong Yi's voice, he already knew what Xiong Yi meant by looking at Xiong Yi's expression. Therefore, Li Xiang said as he walked behind Yue Hua and Lu Qingyu. After checking them casually, Li Xiang said with a smile, "Master, these two people's aptitudes are average, and their cultivation methods are relatively poor. However, I've been stupid since I was a child. I know how hard it is for them to cultivate. I'm willing to accept them as my disciples." Yue Hua and Lu Qingyu had always been nervous. Now that they heard Li Xiang say that he wanted to take in a disciple, their hearts were finally at ease. They hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed. "Disciple greets Master." Seeing this, Xiao Hua was also happy. He clapped and said, "Very good. Greetings, Grandmaster." Yue Hua and Lu Qingyu obediently kowtowed again. Li Xiang quickly waved his hand and said, "Disciple, call sect leader Deloi first. It's not appropriate for you all to address him as martial ancestor now. If the other Fortune Gate inner sect disciples hear it, they will be unhappy." Although Li Xiang's words were to stop them, there was a hint of pride in his tone. Although their cultivation was low, They were still Xiao Hua's personal disciples. Although Yue Hua and Lu Qingyu didn't understand, they already knew that this fortune gate was definitely a sect several times bigger than the fallen immortal sect. Therefore, they hurriedly changed their greetings and said, "Disciple greets sect leader De Leo." Get up, get up." Xiao Hua laughed and took out 2 jade bottles from his bosom. He handed them over and said, "You two have fate with this old man. Now that I've accepted you into my fortune gate, it can be considered as fulfilling one of this old man's wishes. These are the pills this old man refined, take them." "Thank you, sect leader De Leo." Yue Hua and Lu Qingyu were overjoyed and hurriedly received the pills. Haha. A loud laughter sounded as Lord Devil flew out and shouted, "Sect leader, the other old masters haven't woken up yet. Now that this lord has come to show his face, why aren't you greeting sect leader De Leo?" Yue Hua and Lu Qingyu were already pale with fright when they saw the majestic aura of the devil race appear. Their knees went soft and they almost collapsed to the ground. Xiao Hua was displeased and said, "Look, you've scared the children. AI, how boring, how boring." Lord Devil's desire to show off had long disappeared when he saw the 2 little cultivators' limp appearance. He waved his hand and his figure flashed into the space. This guy is a little too complacent. Seeing Lord Devil freely enter and exit the space in front of the Fortune Gate's disciples without letting him use the Kunlun mirror, Xiao Hua was a little displeased. This could easily expose the secret of his space. "Sect leader De Leo, this is..." Yue Hua saw the terrifying aura disappear in a flash, so she mustered up her courage to ask. Xiao Hua said amiably, "Yue Hua, don't be afraid. He is my Fortune Gate sect leader De Leo. Because this old man's cultivation hasn't fully recovered, before I let you two out, this old man let him out to stand guard. Although he is the devil race's devil venerable, he is also my Fortune Gate's disciple. He won't harm you too." Yue Hua and Lu Qingyu were afraid, but when they heard the 2 words devil venerable, it was like a bolt of lightning that knocked them unconscious. How could they still be afraid? A devil race's devil venerable was actually the Fortune Gate sect leader De Leo. Then what was the cultivation of this sect leader De Leo and the other sect leaders behind him? What kind of strength did this Fortune Gate have? They were dumbfounded. "You all return to Shenhua continent first." Xiao Hua waved the Kunlun mirror in his hand, and a light pillar appeared, enveloping Xiong Yi and the others. "When we return to Dawn Rain continent, this old man will call you out." "Yes, master." Xiong Yi and Li Xiang bowed. The Kunlun mirror's light pillar swept over them, and just as it was about to send them into the space, Lu Qingyu hurriedly shouted, "Sect leader De Leo, disciple's disciple." Although Lu Qingyu didn't finish his words, Xiao Hua understood the meaning of his words very clearly. He definitely wanted him to bring Niu Yeqing into the Fortune Gate. However, Xiao Hua was even more clear that Niu Yeqing must have her own secrets. Why should he interfere with other people's karma for no reason? He thought for a moment and said, "Yeqing's matter, he must have already told you. This old man also doesn't want to mention it. This old man has a very good impression of him. So I agreed to his request and brought him out from Nebula Ridge. As for his purpose, he didn't tell this old man, so this old man naturally won't ask. This is the so-called fate of my Dao Gate. Do you all understand?" P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a month, vote for a recommendation, collect, reward, and thank all forms of support. Chapter 49-29. Sect Master. Lu Qingyu still wanted to fight for a chance for Niu Yeqing. Xiao Hua liked this kind of fighting spirit the most. Lu Qingyu smiled and said, "Niu Yeqing has been quiet since he was young, but his talent is not something this disciple boasted about. It is rare in the Chanha sect. However, he is good at hiding his strength so others can't see it. Moreover, he has a lot of thoughts, always thinking about irrelevant things. He definitely doesn't know our Fortune Gate strength, so he is thinking about other opportunities. If Sect Master likes him, why don't you let him show a little bit of his strength? Are you familiar with Magnolia Hall's Xiaofeng?" Xiao Hua asked without any reason. Lu Qingyu was stunned, then blurted out, "Of course. After this disciple's master passed away, Hall Master Xia took good care of this disciple." "Do you still remember what this old man said to him that day?" Xiao Hua asked indifferently. Lu Qingyu was at a loss, but Yuehua quickly reminded him. Sect Master seemed to have said that Hall Master Xiao won't live for more than 10 years, and he said that his fate is not good. That's right. Xiaohua nodded. If Xiaofeng was in front of this old man now, this old man could guarantee that he won't die for 100 years. He could even cultivate until the late nascent soul stage. However, at that time this old man was powerless. This is fate and also fate. Xiaohua did not explain further, and the Kunlun mirror sucked the four people into it. Lu Qingyu's expression was a little gloomy. He had heard clearly that Xiaohua respected fate, and respected other people's choices. Since Nua Yeqing had her own secrets and ambitions, Xiaohua would not interfere. Although he felt that Nua Yeqing was extraordinary and liked her very much, the Fortune Gate's disciples were as numerous as the morning stars. One more Nua Yeqing was not a big deal, and one less Nua Yeqing was not a big deal. After understanding the karma between Yuehua and Lu Qingyu, Xiaohua urged the Kunlun mirror to fly towards a big city in the distance. When he got closer and saw clearly, Xiaohua was speechless. This was a mountain peak that was more than 1,000 zhang tall, covering an area of more than 100 mu. Ordinary mountain peaks were accompanied by mountain ranges, and even the worst ones had hills and forests. However, this mountain was different. There were no hills or mountains within a few miles of it. There was only a city wall that was more than 1,000 feet tall surrounding it. On the other hand, it was about 10 miles away from the city wall. There were rolling hills, green grass, and spring water. With a single glance, one could tell that all of this was created by great magic power, and not by human power. Between the foothills, there were many mountain springs flowing. Bamboo forests whistled with the wind, and from time to time, some white cranes and sparrows would be startled from the bamboo forests. With a long cry, they would rush into the air, circling in the mountain wind for a moment before slowly descending. Perhaps inadvertently, there was a sudden beast roar. It looked like a huge mountain beast had bumped into the bamboo forest, and a group of small beasts in the bamboo forest in the distance fled in panic. Some of the small beasts ran into the bamboos in a hurry. The bamboos only swayed slightly, and some bamboo leaves fell down. The small beasts were even knocked over. However, the small beasts did not dare to stop. They turned around and shook their confused little heads. Following the sound in front of them, they spread out their thick little legs that were less than 10 inches long and continued to sway as they fled. After passing through the bamboo forest, they crashed into a small hole at the base of the hill. Only then did they calm down. Different from the nearby forest and mountain beasts, the city wall around the mountain peak exuded an indescribable solemnity and dignity. The city wall was made of blue stone, and it was covered with fine runes. The runes shone faintly under the light of the eyes, and the densely packed light was like tadpoles merging together outside the city wall. It was not only the brilliance. Within a few miles of the city wall, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth flowed in an orderly manner. It either turned into a fist-sized whirlpool and fell into the runes, or twisted into strips, like small snakes circling around the city wall. High up on the city wall, a light green light curtain covered the sky and fell on the surface of the mountain peak. This light curtain was like a waterfall, but it flowed against the flow and rushed to the top of the mountain peak. The sunlight shone on the light screen. It was shaded by trees, and there were layers upon layers of mountains. It looked like an ordinary mountain, but when one looked at the city walls at the foot of the mountain, one would know that it was an illusion. Behind the mountain peak, the faint cyan light screen condensed into a faint ring of light. This ring of light was several acres in size and slowly rotated in the air. Xiaohua was able to clearly see that around the ring of light, there were no less than 81 invisible ripples that were several zhang in size. They were like huge dragons that rushed down and landed in the nearby 81 bamboo forests. They firmly locked onto the mountain peak and the city. An aura as firm as a boulder faintly seeped out from the great array formed by the city, the mountain peak, and the bamboo forest, causing people to be truly shocked. Xiaohua stood in midair and looked at the cultivators descending from the sky. Then, he looked at the cultivators walking out of the 12 city gates of the big city. He pinched his chin and thought to himself, although I don't know what this big city is called, judging from its location, I'm afraid it's not some important big city. Moreover, there aren't many cultivators going in and out of the city gate, and there aren't many guards outside the city gate. It's probably not a famous city in the Heaven Alliance. But just this ordinary city, whether it's the formation or the aura of the city, it's much stronger than the Heaven Patrol city in the Dawn Rain continent. Yilan continent, Heaven Dao realm, it really lives up to its name. After observing for a moment, Xiaohua flew closer. He didn't know what the rules of this city were, so he looked around and saw the people around him landing at the city gate. He followed suit and was about to land. At this moment, from the sky above the bamboo forest on the right, there was a roar of a beast. He saw a white tiger-like spirit beast carrying a fat monk flying over. Seeing that there was actually a monk on the Yilan continent, Xiaohua was stunned. He didn't fly down in a hurry but waited for a moment. When the monk rode the spirit beast closer, he took a closer look and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How was this a monk? This was clearly a Dao cultivator who cultivated the primordial spirit. However, Xiaohua's eyes turned, and he still cupped his hands and said, "Fellow Taoist, please." When the monk saw the unfamiliar cultivator greet him, his eyes immediately became vigilant. However, when he looked around and saw that they were close to the city wall, he was slightly relieved. He put on a smile on his face and returned the greeting. "Greetings, fellow Taoist. May I know what you're here for?" When the monk said fellow Taoist, Xiaohua felt uncomfortable in his heart. He smiled and said, "I came from the Defeat Oak Immortal Alliance near the Wooming Mountain. I wanted to visit a friend at the Golden Autumn Mountain, but I got lost when I flew here. So I wanted to ask if you know Perfected Liao of the Golden Autumn Mountain? P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian. Vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, give it as a reward and... Chapter 49:30. Jin Qiushan? That monk believed it. On his fat face, a pair of small eyes squeezed into a slit by his fat turned for a moment. Then he said blankly, "Sorry, this poor monk has never heard of Jin Qiushan. Nor do I know any Taoist Liao, I've disappointed you." Saying that, the monk wanted to urge the spirit beast again, but seeing that they were already close to the big city, he sighed and reluctantly flew down from the spirit beast's back. Just as he landed, the spirit beast made a woo sound, its body expanded a little, and it even gave a cheerful low roar, seeming to be a lot more relaxed. Dong! The monk kicked the spirit beast's butt, kicking it several feet away, his mouth still cursing, "Lazy thing, you only carried this monk for half a day, and you're already so tired?" Oh! The spirit beast seemed to be in pain as it growled a few times. The monk stole a glance at Xiaohua and felt that he was losing face. His body moved, and just as he was about to kick the spirit beast again, a gust of wind suddenly appeared near the spirit beast. The spirit beast's body shone brightly, and the spirit beast that was several zhang long turned into a foot long. Then under Xiaohua's dumbfounded gaze, the spirit beast's body swayed, and like a cat, it pounced on the monk's left leg. Its four hooves firmly wrapped around the monk's leg, and its bloody mouth was now only a few inches wide. Its bright red tongue licked the monk's leg here and there. The monk swung his leg, but he didn't shake off the spirit beast. He roared a few times, as if he couldn't bear to lose his temper again. "Haha, Taoist friend." Xiaohua laughed. "Your spirit beast is really cute. What's its name?" Hearing this, the monk's face showed a smile, and he lovingly raised his hand to touch the spirit beast's head, saying, "This poor monk gave it the name of tyrannical tiger, but no matter how you look at it, it doesn't look like a fierce tiger that dominates the world. Instead, it looks like an ordinary cat. That's because Taoist friend is benevolent. So the spirit beast you raise is also cute." Xiaohua said with a smile. It's nothing, it's nothing." The monk hurriedly replied. "We are monks, so of course we have to be merciful." At this point, the monk waved his nondescript Taoist robe, and a bright light shone out to keep the spirit beast. Then, he looked at the big city not far away and said with a smile, "I happen to have some matters to attend to in Tong Lake City. If you don't mind, why don't we enter together?" "Oh, thank you so much." Xiaohua nodded and followed the monk. About 100 zhang away from the big city, a layer of faint fluctuation emerged from the ground and swept over Xiaohua's body. Xiaohua knew that it was Tong Lake City's defense, so he ignored it. When the fluctuation swept past without stopping, the monk at the side smiled and said, "I'm Hong Qing. Greetings, fellow cultivator." Just now I wasn't sure of your identity, so I didn't dare to pay attention to you. Please forgive me. It doesn't matter. I am Taoist Master Xiao. Xiaohua didn't mind. It would be strange if Tong Lake City's defenses could see through his identity. So it's Taoist Master Xiao. Hongqing nodded slightly and said, "It seems that fellow cultivator is a nascent soul cultivator." Yes. Xiaohua already understood the situation of the Heaven Alliance from Demon Lord Shi, so he replied without hesitation, "Most of the cultivators in my Tong Yu Immortal Alliance are nascent soul cultivators. It's very different from other places in the Heaven Alliance." "Sai, I really envy you nascent soul cultivators." Hongqing sighed. However, after a moment, he suddenly realized something and looked at Xiaohua with surprise. "Oh right, you came to Tongchong Immortal Alliance to visit a friend. Damn it, how can your luck be so good? You actually came to Tong Lake City by accident." Xiaohua was really confused. He asked curiously, "Fellow cultivator, why do you say that? How can I be so lucky when I came to Tong Lake City?" The fat Hongqing's face showed a trace of friendliness. He laughed softly and said, "Taoist Master Xiao, I want to ask you, what's your cultivation level now?" Xiaohua had long seen through this monk's qi refinement realm of the lower fourth grade of essence energy on the surface, but in reality he was already at the upper fourth grade of essence energy, the return to divinity realm. Thus, he proudly said, "This humble Taoist is already at the middle stage of nascent soul realm." "Oh yeah." Hearing this, the monk couldn't help but smile. However, he said with surprise, "So fellow cultivator has a cultivation level concealment technique. No wonder I saw that you were only in the early stage of nascent soul realm." "I don't dare. It's just a small trick." Xiaohua was very modest, but his tone revealed a kind of arrogance. "Sai, you nascent soul cultivators really know how to play." Hongqing couldn't help but sigh again. "I am already a nascent soul realm cultivator, but I don't dare to show off casually. No way." Xiaohua pretended to be surprised and said, "I see that you are only in the qi refinement realm. That's just superficial." Hongqing also showed off a little. "It's nothing. You don't have to take it seriously. So fellow cultivator is also an expert." Xiaohua quietly flattered him. "Of course. If I'm not an expert, how would I know some secret information?" As he spoke, Hongqing saw that the city gate was already close at hand. He hurriedly pulled Xiaohua and said mysteriously, "Fellow cultivator Xiao, let me ask you, how is the recruitment of disciples in the various nascent soul realm sects of Defeat Immortal Alliance? Is it similar to the Tao Alliance?" "That's right." Xiaohua was a little puzzled. He followed Hongqing's tone and replied, "Although this old man is a loose cultivator, my disciples are also worried about recruiting disciples. The previous selection technique was useless. The disciples that were recruited looked good, but their cultivation speed was really slow. And some disciples that didn't look so good cultivated extremely fast." "That's right." Hongqing looked around and said in a low voice, "This poor monk has a piece of news that can help you solve this problem. Do you want to know?" "Ah, impossible. How could you have news?" Xiaohua's heart moved. He pretended to be surprised and said, "In my Defeat Immortal Alliance, countless seniors have not solved this problem for hundreds of years." At this point, Xiaohua paused for a moment. He looked like he suddenly realized something and said, "I know. Fellow cultivator is talking about the Tao Alliance, right? They already have a way to solve the problem of recruiting disciples?" Hongqing was a little surprised. However, he still continued, "The Tao Alliance is too far away. Moreover, you can't cross the heaven sacrificial abyss. Therefore, I's news is naturally within the Heaven Alliance. If fellow cultivator Xiao wants to know, I only need a mid-grade crystal. What do you think? P.S. Fellow cultivators who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support. Vote for a month. Vote for a recommendation, collect, reward. Thank you for all forms of support. In addition, today is Mr. Xianqing's birthday. I'll add an update for him and wish him a happy birthday." Chapter 4931. I can get the solution with just a mid-grade crystal? Xiaohua was overjoyed. He hurriedly reached into his pocket and shouted, "It's really worth it. Fellow cultivator, I'll follow you." Hongqing didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Fellow cultivator Xiao, you're dreaming. This spiritual root selection method costs 10 top-grade crystals." At this point, Hongqing realized that he had spilled the beans and hurriedly stopped. "Ah, it turns out that you don't have a spiritual root selection method." Xiao Hua put down his hand and said curiously, "Then why do you ask I for a middle-grade crystal?" Hongqing smiled again and said in a low voice, "The spiritual root selection method was created by the Taoist Alliance. They've blocked it from the Heavenly Alliance. No one can get it. However, I know where to get this secret method. Do you think this information is worth a middle-grade crystal?" This? Xiao Hua hesitated. He looked at the city gate and thought for a while. He shook his head and said, "I think I'd better forget it. I just came out to visit a friend. I haven't thought about the spiritual root yet. I'll enter Tong Lake City and ask where Jin Qiushan is. When I find Jinren Liao, I'll discuss it with him." 10 low-grade crystals, Hongqing said without hesitation. "If Jinren Xiao still doesn't agree, then forget it." Hearing Hongqing's words, Xiao Hua knew that the place Hongqing was talking about must be in Tong Lake City. However, he hesitated and said, "Fellow cultivator, the spiritual qi of heaven and earth has changed. Nowadays there are fewer crystals. I have 5 crystals. I can't give you less." Hongqing gnashed his teeth and said, "I'm only doing this because you're pleasing to the eye. Otherwise." At this moment at the side of the city gate, there were already more than 10 cultivators hurrying in. They all looked anxious. They glanced at Xiao Hua and Hongqing, but they did not pay any attention to them. "All right." Xiao Hua also replied while gnashing his teeth. "As you wish, fellow Taoist. 5 low-grade crystals. Quick, give it to this penniless monk, and this penniless monk will tell you immediately." Hongqing looked a little impatient. Xiao Hua had plundered a lot of crystal stones from the auction house of Xiahong Mountain. He casually took out 5 low-grade crystal stones from his storage ring and handed them to Hongqing with a pained expression. "Haha." Hongqing put the crystal into his storage ring and immediately said in high spirits, "Fellow Taoist, please follow I. The spirit root selection method is being auctioned at the Chonglin Pavilion. I will bring you there." "Fellow Taoist," Xiao Hua cried out, "you can't play like this." Hongqing chuckled. With a flick of his Taoist robe, he took out the tyrannical tiger that looked like a cat from his sleeve. He raised his hand and fed the tyrannical tiger a low-grade crystal. The tyrannical tiger opened its mouth and began to chew. Its tail wagged vigorously behind its back. It looked very happy. "Tyrant tiger, this is the food that Taoist Master Xiao gave you. You have to thank him." Hongqing patted Bahu's head and said with a smile, "Ho ho." While eating, Bahu roared twice at Xiao Hua. Although Hongqing didn't open his mouth, the meaning in his eyes was clear. "Do you still want it? Do you still want to earn food from my family's kitten? Shameless. Come on then." Looking at Hongqing's ruffian appearance, how could he be a monk? Xiao Hua was also helpless. "Forget it. Forget it." Xiao Hua helplessly waved his hand and said, "These 5 low-grade crystal stones were given to this beast. This old man deserves it. Fellow Taoist, quickly bring this Xiao to the Chonglin Pavilion. This Xiao wants to see what the spirit root selection method is like." Xiao Hua's words were pointing at the mulberry tree and cursing the locust tree. Hearing this, Hongqing felt a bit embarrassed. However, since he took out Bahu to take the blame now that he was cursed as Bahu, he deserved it. Anyway, this Hongqing's skin was thick enough. Perhaps it was because there was too much oil on his face, but in a moment he returned to normal. He smiled and raised his hand. "Fellow Taoist, this poor monk is also going to the Chonglin Pavilion to see if the spirit root selection method is suitable for us cultivators who cultivate the primordial spirit. Let's go together." After saying this, Hongqing waved his big sleeves and took the lead to pass through the city gate. Looking at the fat back, how could it have anything to do with an outstanding cultivator? After Xiao Hua passed through the city gate, he was faced with a mountain peak that was so tall that it could pierce through the sky. The mountain peak was full of pavilions, which looked completely different from what he saw outside the city. Moreover, at the foot of the mountain within the city walls, there were some palaces of different heights and styles. These palaces looked magnificent, But Xiaohua could see clearly that some of the palaces even had some banners engraved with gourds and cauldrons hanging on them. Obviously, these were shops that sold spirit pills and magic tools. Looking at the mountain peak again, the layers of pavilions looked like the gardens of immortal cultivation sections. However, if one looked carefully, they could clearly see all kinds of signs of selling. Of course, what puzzled Xiaohua was that although there were many pavilions outside the mountain peak, he didn't see any cultivators flying here and there. Fellow Taoist. Xiaohua was a little bewildered and asked in a low voice, "This Tong Lake city doesn't seem to have many fellow Taoists coming here." Hong Qing said with a smile, "Fellow Taoist, just now you thought that you spent those 5 low-grade crystals unjustly. Now do you still need this poor monk to answer you?" "Do as you please." Xiaohua shrugged and asked back, "As long as you feel that those 5 low-grade crystals aren't burning your hands." This Hong Qing was also a weirdo. Seeing that Xiaohua knew that his cultivation was high and wasn't afraid of him, he didn't put on any airs. He rubbed his hands and said, "It seems that it really is burning my hands. Then this poor monk can only take you there." As he spoke, Hong Qing led Xiaohua to the mountain peak. While walking, he pointed at the pavilions on the mountain peak and introduced them. He was very conscientious, as if he was really afraid that the crystals would burn his hands. "Fellow Taoist Xiao, please take a look. This mountain peak is divided into 9 layers. In addition to the 5th layer in the middle and the 9th layer at the top, the other 7 layers correspond to the 8 realms of essence refining, qi transforming, qi refining, spirit refining, void returning, and void refining for nascent soul cultivators. Each layer contains elixirs, cultivation methods, magic treasures, spirit beasts, and so on. The 5th layer is where nascent soul cultivators buy items. The Chonglin Pavilion is on the 5th layer. Moreover, if you want to buy any other cultivation methods, you can find them on the 5th layer." "What about the 9th layer?" Xiaohua nodded and asked tactfully. Hong Qing was very pleased and said with a smile, "The 9th layer is naturally prepared for the Heavenly Alliance's Tao fusing seniors. Of course, if there are any nascent soul cultivators in your fully immortal alliance who have passed the heavenly tribulation, they can also come to the 9th layer to buy items." P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a month, vote for a recommendation, collect, reward, and thank you for all kinds of support. Today, I will add a chapter for fellow Taoist Xianqing's birthday. I wish him a happy life every year. Chapter 4932. Xiaohua didn't know about any tribulation transcending cultivators in the Heavenly Alliance. He could only reply, I'm just a loose cultivator. How could I know about any tribulation transcending seniors in the Immortal Alliance? And that's good. I'll teach you a trick. Hong Qing hurriedly lowered his voice and said, "When you come out of the Chonglin Pavilion, you might as well go to the 8th floor to take a look. Sometimes, some Taoist seniors will go to the 8th floor from the 9th floor. If you see them, immediately kneel down and kowtow with tears and snot running down your face. Tell them about your miserable life. Maybe some seniors will take pity on you and take you in." "Damn it, why don't you go?" Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Alas, look at me." Hong Qing raised his arm and turned left and right. "No matter what, I don't look like someone who came from a poor background." As they spoke, they arrived at the side of the mountain peak. They were about 1,000 feet away from the peak. Swish! At the same level as Xiaohua's eyes, a rune that looked like an eye appeared. Then the eye suddenly expanded and turned into a grid that was more than 100 feet in size. A sturdy qi transformation cultivator stood at the side of the grid with a smile, quietly watching Xiaohua and Hong Qing approach. "Fellow Taoist Xiao," Hong Qing said without any trace of politeness, "didn't you just ask? Why are there no cultivators flying outside the mountain peak? I'll tell you now. It's because the Tong Lake City's auction peak uses a teleportation formation as the passage. Cultivators are not allowed to fly outside the mountain peak. Teleportation formations are used between the different floors?" Xiaohua was inexplicably surprised and shouted, "My Liu Immortal Alliance doesn't have that many teleportation formations. So Senior is a cultivator of the Liu Immortal Alliance?" The Qi transformation cultivator heard Xiaohua's deliberately mystifying words and said with a smile, "Senior, Are you going to the 6th floor? Xiaohua didn't understand why the Qi transformation cultivator said that. Just as he was about to ask, Hongqing took a few steps forward and said with familiarity, "Fellow Taoist Xiao, follow me to the Chonglin Pavilion on the 5th floor." "Oh then senior, please." The Qi transformation cultivator nodded and raised his hand to take out an all-like magic treasure. As he waved it, one of the several grids on the side suddenly flew out and rapidly turned into a simple teleportation formation. "And this poor monk will go first." As Hongqing spoke, he had already stepped into the teleportation channel. Only then did he turn his head and say to Xiaohua, "Hand the crystals over to the guards of Tong Lake City." Ah! Xiaohua stared blankly for a moment. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He watched as the brilliant light of the teleportation channel rushed up and covered Hongqing's fat body. After a moment, Hongqing disappeared. "Mother ****, I don't know this shameless fatty." Xiaohua spat, then turned around to leave. "Senior." That Qi transformation cultivator didn't dare to leave his post to stop Xiaohua. Instead, he bitterly cried out, "It's only 2 low-grade crystal stones. If senior feels it's inappropriate, then this junior will pay for the crystal stones of that senior just now." Of course, it was impossible for Xiaohua to leave. He looked at the shrewd cultivators and took out 2 low-grade crystals from his storage ring. He tossed them to the Qi transformation cultivators and said, "Fine, you can have them. This old man was just joking with you." "Hehe. Junior knows that senior is teasing junior. Please." The Qi transformation cultivator hurriedly received the crystal stones and opened up a teleportation channel, respectfully inviting Xiaohua to enter. Xiaohua stepped into the teleportation channel and suddenly remembered something. He hurriedly asked, "Right, why did you ask this old man to go to the 6th floor? Oh, junior thought that senior and..." Before the Qi transformation cultivator finished speaking, the teleportation channel had already been activated. Xiaohua felt a light flash in front of his eyes. His body first sank. Then he saw monk Hongqing standing in front of him with a smile on his face. Of course, at this time the kitten named Tyrannical Tiger was in his hand. Knowing that Hongqing had already prepared the words for him, Xiaohua was naturally too lazy to ask again. He looked left and right. On the passageway that was like a silver dragon, many cultivators walked out of the light circle. He asked, "Where is the Chonglin Pavilion?" Seeing that Xiaohua didn't ask, Hongqing smiled and put away Tyrannical Tiger. He raised his hand and pointed at the winding silver path. "Where else could it be? Didn't you see? The cultivators of the 5th floor are all going there. Today seems to be the last day. I don't know if the spiritual root selection method can be used. If it can be used, I'm afraid this poor monk will buy it at all costs." As he spoke, Hongqing's small eyes turned and looked at Xiaohua again. Seeing this, Xiaohua hurriedly dodged and looked around. "Forget it, whatever spiritual root has nothing to do with this Xiao. This Xiao will go look elsewhere." "Fellow Taoist, look at you." Hongqing hurriedly smiled and said, "What do you think this poor monk is? This poor monk just wants to get some rations for Tyrannical Tiger. Why do you take it seriously? This spiritual root selection method is still unclear of its use to this poor monk. This poor monk just wants to help fellow Taoist because fellow Taoist looks kind. It is said that the jade slip costs 10 top-grade crystal stones. I was thinking that if fellow Taoist doesn't have enough, this poor monk can gather a few top-grade crystal stones. When the time comes, you can just let this poor monk take a look." "Forget it." Xiaohua waved his hand indifferently and said, "This Xiao doesn't plan to buy it. I don't need fellow Taoist's help." Finished speaking, Xiaohua followed the 2 cultivators who had just come out of the transmission channel and walked towards the end of the silver path. Hongqing didn't give up, but instead walked behind Xiaohua and persuaded in a low voice, "Fellow Taoist Xiao, it's only 10 top-grade crystal stones. You are a very famous cultivator in the Defeat Valley Immortal Union. How could you not have?" Along the way, Hongqing was like an abandoned village woman, chattering endlessly in Xiaohua's ear. It seemed that if Xiaohua didn't bid for the method of selecting spiritual roots and let him see it, he would definitely not give up. In the end, Xiaohua simply closed his eyes and listened, moving forward with more and more cultivators. Not until he reached the end of the silver path, in the space on Xiaohua's left hand, a splashing painting of a pavilion swayed in the mountain wind. On the painting, the three words Chonglin Pavilion flashed with golden light. Seeing the cultivator in front of him walk into the picture, Xiaohua also walked over. Seeing the splashing picture collide with his body, a layer of light rippled like the surface of a lake. Xiaohua was already in front of a tall pavilion. This pavilion had 3 floors and was green in color. From the outside, it looked as if the entire pavilion was made of bamboo. However, the color of the bamboo was pure, and it looked more sparkling and translucent than jade. It was obviously not bamboo outside of Tong Lake City. Xiaohua had just revealed himself when he saw that many cultivators had already gathered in front of him. Although the space array inside the Chonglin Pavilion had already been activated, it still looked crowded. When Xiaohua turned on his listening device, a wave of noisy discussions fell into his ears. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a monthly vote, vote for a recommendation vote, bookmark, gift, and thank you for all forms of support. I wish all fellow Taoists a happy Zongzi festival. One more update. Chapter 49-33. I heard that the cultivators of the Guangqing Immortal Alliance spent a lot of effort and sacrificed hundreds of their disciples to obtain the spiritual root selection method. I wonder if it's useful? It should be useful. After all, it's not the first time that Shen Ming's disciples came to Tong Lake City. They came here half a year ago, but not many people believed them. They sold some and went to the 9-Cloud Ridge. I heard that no one believed them at first, but suddenly, the Tao Alliance announced that the Tao Alliance had publicized the spiritual root selection method to the entire Tao Alliance. That's why their spiritual root technique became popular. Since the Tao Alliance has publicized it, why are they still selling it at such a high price? 10 supreme-grade crystals can be used to buy a magic weapon. The problem is that the Tao Alliance only publicized it to the 81 Immortal Alliances. They didn't publicize it to the Heaven Alliance. Moreover, just a few years ago, before the news came, the security of the sacrificial abyss suddenly became tight. It was impossible for a cultivation method to be passed down from there. Shen Mingjiao got it early and paid a huge price. How could they not let him earn more crystal stones? It's a pity. I heard that the Tao Alliance has some cultivation methods for spiritual roots that have reached the Golden Core realm. However, Shen Ming only has the spiritual root selection method. It's really a fly in the ointment. Don't be greedy. It's good enough that they have the spiritual root selection method to find suitable disciples and pass down our orthodoxy. It's a pity that we don't know if this spiritual root selection method is suitable for us primordial spirit cultivators. I really don't know. I heard that Shen Ming sent this cultivation method to the leader of the Heaven Alliance, but there hasn't been a reply. However, it's a cultivation method of the Tao Alliance. Maybe it's useless to the Heaven Alliance? Unfortunately, before Xiaohua could listen to more, Hongqing came closer and persuaded, Taoist Xiao, it's just 10 supreme-grade crystals. Xiaohua was annoyed. He waved his hand and said, if I bid, I'll let you have a look. Don't talk nonsense, haha, I knew it. Taoist Xiao is a generous person. Come, I've been to the Chonglin Pavilion before. Let's go this way. There will be many people bidding later. I'm afraid it's not convenient to stand outside. Hongqing was delighted and hurriedly pointed inside. All right. Xiaohua nodded. I'll go in and take a look. Ding. Just as Xiaohua took a dozen or so steps, a sound similar to a large yellow bell rang out from within the Chonglin Pavilion. The pillars of the entire Chonglin Pavilion suddenly fluttered like pythons and rapidly fell into the void. In just a moment, light and shadow overlapped. Xiaohua, Hongqing, and the cultivators who were discussing outside the Chonglin Pavilion just now were all inside a pavilion that was several mu in size. This pavilion was suffused with a green luster. Rings of bamboo were strung together and rotated around the inner walls of the pavilion. Wisps of bamboo fragrance wafted out from within. Fellow Taoists, dozens of bamboo grew out from the bottom of the pavilion and formed a bamboo platform in midair. One of the bamboo exploded and a few nascent soul cultivators flew out. The one in front was dressed in white. He looked around and cupped his hands. I'm Huan Swan from Tong Lake City. I'm here on the orders of the city lord to assist Shen Ming School in auctioning the spiritual root selection method. I'd like to thank all fellow Taoists for your support. You're welcome. It was like an ordinary auction. It was unknown whether it was arranged in advance, or there were cultivators who knew Huan Xuan. Under the bamboo platform, a few cultivators had already raised their hands. As long as fellow Taoists can sell the jade slip to I at a cheaper price. Haha. Huan Xuan laughed. If it were my Tong Lake City's jade slip, I'd give it all to you for free. Unfortunately, this jade slip is from Shunming School. Everything will have to listen to fellow Taoists from Shunming School. Haha, even if it's from Tong Lake City, you can't give it away for free. A cultivator laughed. Otherwise, the city lord will expel you from Tong Lake City. Damn it, for the sake of fellow Taoists' satisfaction. So what if I'm expelled from Tong Lake City? Huan Xuan replied righteously. Then, Huan Xuanzi said a few more words and raised his hand to pick up a jade slip. He said, I won't introduce the things in the jade slip. After all, everyone is here for the spiritual root selection method. Today, I'd like to introduce today's auction. When everyone heard this, they immediately had a bad feeling. One of the cultivators asked anxiously, Huan Xuan, is there a change to today's auction? Haha, there aren't many changes. It's just that the starting price has changed to 10 supreme grade crystals. Each increment is 1 supreme grade crystal. There's no upper limit. Huan Xuan replied with a smile. No way, this is too shady. A few cultivators were already shouting. Wasn't the starting price of 5 supreme grade crystals and each increment is 10 top grade crystals? Huan Xuan looked at the silent cultivators beside him and shrugged. This is fellow Taoist Shunming sect's idea. I've also reported it to the city lord. After all, it's the last day. Haha, everyone understands. Please forgive me. Who knows if the spiritual root selection method in the jade slip is real? Seeing the change in the auction rules, everyone was unhappy. Some of the cultivators were already nitpicking. That's right. None of the fellow Taoists have made a public announcement. Who knows if the spiritual root selection method is effective? What's a spiritual root? Fellow Taoists of Shunming sect, can you explain it? The Tao Alliance has locked down our Heaven Alliance so tightly. I don't believe that Shunming sect can get the spiritual root selection method from the Tao Alliance. For a moment there were different opinions, and the situation was a little out of control. Huan Xuan seemed to be very experienced. First, he didn't say anything. After a round of discussion, he raised his hand and said, Fellow Taoists, don't be anxious. These questions should be answered by the fellow Taoists of Shunming sect. However, I can guarantee that the city lord has already seen this cultivation method. There's definitely no problem. After Huan Xuan finished speaking, a middle-aged cultivator with sharp eyes beside him walked forward with a trace of displeasure on his face. He said, Everyone, I want to thank you. I'm a disciple of Shunming sect. To be honest, I don't know what this spiritual root is. Even the sect leader of Shunming sect doesn't know. However, I can also tell you that Shunming sect is a sect that cultivates nascent soul. Shunming sect has already started to use this secret technique to select disciples a few years ago. Although we don't have a suitable cultivation method at the moment, the disciples selected with spiritual roots can also cultivate ordinary cultivation methods. However, the speed is not much faster than ordinary disciples. It's not as obvious as the Tao Alliance. As for the matter of the Tao Alliance's lockdown, I can also clearly say that Shunming sect obtained the spiritual root selection method before the Tao Alliance sealed the heaven sacrificial abyss. Vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, give it as a reward. Oh. Chapter 49-34. How is that possible? Another cultivator who seemed to know something hurriedly shouted, before the Tao Alliance announced the spiritual root selection method, they had already sealed off the heaven sacrificial abyss. Your Shunming sect belongs to the Guangqing Immortal Alliance, and is more than 1,000,000 miles away from the heaven sacrificial abyss. How could you have gotten it first? The cultivator named Xia Han was a little hesitant. Cough cough. At this moment, a cough was heard from the bamboo platform. Another bamboo exploded and a familiar figure walked out from it. Wasn't that the disciple of the fallen immortal sect, Zhejun, who had mysteriously disappeared? Zhejun walked out of the bamboo and glanced at everyone. He said, I will answer this question, however. Zhejun only said this sentence and was stunned on the spot. Xiao Hua was tall to begin with, and when he entered Changlin Pavilion under Hong Qing's eagerness, he walked closer to the front. Banished Lord's gaze swept over and easily found Xiao Hua. His gaze was now fixed on Xiao Hua, and his face was filled with disbelief. Senior Zhang. Shijun came to his senses and said 3 words. Then he suddenly pointed at Xiao Hua and shouted, "Quick, quick! He's a cultivator from the Dao Alliance. Huan Swansea, quick, quick, get the guards here." Dao Alliance cultivator? Huan Swansea was shocked at first. However, when he saw Xiao Hua, he did not know whether to laugh or cry. He said, "Daoist, are you sure? Although this Daoist is a nascent soul cultivator, you can't just kill him with a stick and say that he's a cultivator from the Dao Alliance. Besides, aren't you a nascent soul cultivator too? My Heavenly Alliance." "Oh no, most of the Heavenly Alliance cultivators in the Changlin Pavilion are nascent soul cultivators, right?" Shijun was a little panicked, as if he had stolen someone's things and was caught red-handed. He said hurriedly, "I'm not lying to you. Quick, quick, report to the city lord." Fellow cultivators, Master Huan Swan heard that Shijun wanted to report this to the city lord, and became even more unhappy. He said, "Take a closer look. This fellow cultivator is a nascent soul cultivator." Huan Swansea emphasized the words nascent soul cultivators. Now that the sacrificial abyss between the Dao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance has been sealed by the Dao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance, even body integration cultivators would find it difficult to fly over, let alone nascent soul cultivators. In addition, this is Tong Lake City. Do you think that the nascent soul cultivators of the Dao Alliance will be able to pass through the defenses of Tong Lake City and enter the Chong Forest Pavilion? Huan Swansea's last sentence was the most important. Banished Monarch had slandered a nascent soul cultivator as a Dao Alliance cultivator. He had unknowingly slapped Tong Lake City in the face. Although Master Huan Swan was displeased, some of the cultivators around Xiao Hua heard the words of the banished monarch and involuntarily stepped aside. Even Hong Qing took several steps back. Xiao Hua didn't say anything. Instead, he looked at Zhejun thoughtfully, as if he wanted to see through Zhejun's secret. The more Xiao Hua acted like this, the more afraid Zhejun became. He couldn't help but think of Xiao Hua's might when he defeated the Flying Shadow sect with a single roar. He couldn't help but cry out, "How could he be a nascent soul cultivator? When I saw him at the Nebula Ridge, he didn't have any cultivation at all. But this person with no cultivation at all was able to intimidate all the spirit beasts of the Flying Shadow sect with a single roar." Even the late nascent soul sect master fell from the sky with blood flowing out of his 7 orifices. Hearing this, Huan Swansea's expression finally changed, and Hong Qing even retreated a dozen steps with a thump thump thump. He even forgot to fly. Instead, the nearby cultivators all flew backwards, creating a space of 300 meters around Xiao Hua. At this point, Zhejun seemed to be unable to bear the contempt in Xiao Hua's eyes. He couldn't help but cry out, My spirit root selection method was created by him." Master Huan Swan's expression changed greatly when he heard this. His figure suddenly shot up into the sky and a bamboo joint shot out from his hand. He didn't need to rush to the top of the pavilion, but instead, he immediately disappeared into the void. Boom! A loud sound rang out. All the bamboo in the Changlin Pavilion immediately glowed with a dazzling green light. Then they roared and pounced towards Xiao Hua like giant pythons. At the same time, even more Tong Lake City guards appeared from various hiding places in the Changlin Pavilion. They activated their bodies and summoned their magic treasures, coordinating with the formation to attack Xiao Hua. Cough cough. Xiao Hua lightly coughed twice. He gently raised his hand and pointed at a spot in the array. Pop! Like glass shattering, the illusion of the array disappeared. The numerous giant pythons turned back into bamboo and fell to their original places. The frightening aura that filled the air also turned into smoke. Then Xiao Hua waved his sleeve and blocked the guards that were charging at him. Only then did he leisurely say, "This old man only came to Tong Lake City to take a look. I didn't come here specifically to catch a thief like you who stole this old man's cultivation technique," Xiao Hua said as he walked onto the bamboo platform. It was as if Master Huan Swan and the other Tong Lake City disciples were nothing to him. "Senior, please spare my life. Senior, please spare my life." Zhijun saw that Xiao Hua's strength was as vast as the sea, and that he was walking towards him. How could he dare to say anything more? He didn't care about the thousands of Heavenly Alliance cultivators around him, and hurriedly knelt down and begged. Master Huan Xuan was even more panicked. He wanted to resist, but he didn't know how. Although Xiao Hua didn't deliberately release his aura was like a giant mountain, making him breathless. What exactly happened? Xiao Hua walked onto the bamboo platform and lowered his head to look at Zhijun, who was kowtowing. Beside Zhijun, a few disciples of Shenming's sect also knelt down. After all, stealing other people's cultivation methods was a serious crime in Taoism. If they were discovered, their lives would be in danger. Zhijun didn't dare to delay and hurriedly told the story. However, he didn't make it too clear in his panic. Xiao Hua frowned and asked softly, "I understand now. You're a disciple of Shenming's sect. The Heavenly Alliance deliberately let you join the Fallen Immortal sect. That day, you were supposed to return to the Fallen Immortal sect from Xingyun Ridge. However, because you saw the spiritual root selection method, you contacted the Heavenly Alliance disciples on the spur of the moment and returned to the Heavenly Alliance? What about the 10 disciples of the Fallen Immortal sect that you selected? Senior, please no." Zhijun didn't dare to delay and hurriedly reported the details. "I knew that the Chanhe sect had obtained the remains of Royal Dome Spiritual Master and the Heavenly Cycle Demon subduing star formation. I already had a plan. I planned to take these things and return to the Heavenly Alliance directly. After all, the relics of a Mahayana cultivator who went through the heavenly tribulation are of great use to my Shenming sect. As for the 10 disciples of the Fallen Immortal sect, they were all disciples of Shenming sect like me. They returned to the Heavenly Alliance with me. P.S. Fellow cultivators who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian. Vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, give it as a reward and Chapter 49-35. Is what he said true? Xiao Hua turned to look at the other Shenming school disciple, and his eyes flashed with some illusions. That nascent soul disciple only felt his vision blur, and answered somewhat sluggishly, "Senior, when Senior Brother Zhe returned, he did indeed bring some disciples, but as for how many there were, and whether they were disciples of the fallen celestial sect, I'm not too sure." And Xiao Hua withdrew his illusion and looked at the banished king. His tone was gentle as he said, "You can wait for me." Yes, thank you for your forgiveness, Senior." Exiled monarch and the others were overjoyed when they heard this. They hurriedly expressed their gratitude and stood up. Xiao Hua looked at the overjoyed Zhijun and sighed in his heart. Of course, he liked Zhijun's persistence in the Star Cloud Ridge. However, he didn't expect Zhijun to be a spy from the Heavenly Alliance. However, he smiled again after a while. Tao Alliance and Heavenly Alliance, was there any difference in his eyes? Oh, that's right. I heard that the spirit root selection method has already been popularized in the Tao Alliance. What's going on? Xiao Hua recalled what Hong Qing had just said and asked again. Before the exiled monarch could speak, Huan Xuanzi hurriedly bowed and said, "Senior, this junior is aware of this matter." "Okay, you say it." Xiao Hua knew that Tong Lake City was well informed and must know more than Shenming cult, so he nodded and instructed. After Master Huan Xuan explained everything that had happened during the Tao Alliance's alliance meeting, including how the Tao Alliance had distributed the Qi refinement, foundation establishment, and golden core cultivation techniques to the various immortal alliances, as well as the sealing of the sacrificial abyss, he carefully looked at Xiao Hua. "Haha, the Tao Alliance is far too stingy." Xiao Hua smiled faintly and said, "However, Old Man Guqiong and Reverend Ji Yan have good taste." When they heard Xiao Hua say that the alliance was stingy, both Fallen Monarch and Fantasy Swansea were shocked. Of course, they were able to obtain a certain amount of information, but the secret of Xiao Hua's origins, they were still unclear. Also, banished monarch. Xiao Hua continued, "You obtained this spiritual root selection method effortlessly, so why are you selling it at such a high price? Moreover, you even want to bid for it today. This doesn't seem like the righteousness you showed on Nebula Ridge." The banished prince couldn't say that this was the idea of the head of Shenming cult. He could only mutter a few words and didn't dare to refute. Illusion operator. Xiao Hua instructed, "You can start selling 1 jade slip, 1 top-grade crystal." Actually, according to Xiao Hua's thoughts, it was fine for everyone to give it to him for free. But on second thought, would she cherish something that was given to her for free? For no reason, people would think that it was a fake. It would be better if it was a bit more expensive. Okay. Huan Xuanzi agreed, but he looked at Banished King, as if he was hesitant. Banished King wished he could slap Huan Xuanzi to death. He hurriedly shouted, "Fellow Taoists, Senior Zhang has already said that this spiritual root selection method costs 1 supreme grade crystal, so today's auction will not be held. If any fellow Taoist needs it, feel free to come and hand it over." Although the Banished King had already spoken, the cultivators in the Chonglin Pavilion still did not dare to act rashly in the face of Xiao Hua. The might of Xiao Hua's sleeve was truly terrifying. Seeing the awkward situation, Master Huan Xuan began to sweat. At this moment, a cultivator mustered up his courage and asked, "Say, Senior, since this method of selecting spiritual roots was created by you, would it be useful for us disciples who cultivate nascent divinity?" "Of course," Xiao Hua said with a smile. "No matter if our Tao sect cultivates nascent divinity or nascent soul, it is all due to the spiritual qi of heaven and earth entering the body. Now that the spiritual qi of heaven and earth has changed, the previous method of selecting disciples is ineffective. This spiritual root is the proof for ordinary children to set foot on the immortal Tao." Great. That cultivator was overjoyed and hurriedly wanted to take out the crystal to trade. However, another cultivator beside him mustered up his courage and asked, "But Senior, since they both draw in spiritual qi of heaven and earth into the body, why is the Tao Alliance and Heaven Alliance's method of selecting disciples different? Moreover, I heard that Shinming cult has already sent this method to our Heaven Alliance's Alliance Master. Why didn't he say anything?" Xiao Hua shrugged and said, "I haven't seen the Tao Alliance and Heaven Alliance's method of selecting disciples, so I'm not sure why it's different. As for your last question, you should ask your Heaven Alliance's Alliance Master." Ha. Xiao Hua's words made everyone laugh, and their previous nervousness disappeared by more than half. Senior. Master Huan Xuan saw this and hurriedly took out 2 jade slips from his storage ring and respectfully presented them. He said, "This is the method of selecting disciples who cultivate nascent soul and nascent divinity. Senior, please take a look." "Damn it, I was just casually speaking. If I couldn't see through it, wouldn't I lose face?" Xiao Hua laughed and scolded, but he still took the 2 jade slips. Seeing that Xiao Hua was so approachable, Master Huan Xuan was relieved and stood respectfully at the side. Xiao Hua looked at the 2 jade slips and casually returned them to Master Huan Xuan. He said to everyone, "Humans have 3 spirits: essence, energy, and spirit. Essence is the foundation and spirit is the root. The Tao Alliance cultivates nascent soul and focuses on qi. The Heaven Alliance cultivates nascent divinity and focuses on essence. Therefore, the method of selecting disciples is biased. However, the spiritual roots focus on spirit. It can cover the path of essence, so the spiritual roots are suitable for the selection of nascent soul and nascent divinity disciples." "Thank you, Senior Zhang." The cultivator who was the first to arrive was already impatient. After hearing this, he hurriedly took out a top-grade crystal and wanted to hand it over to Master Huan Xuan. "I also want." For a moment, all the cultivators crazily fought over it. Seeing this, Master Huan Xuan was really flustered. How could they know that Xiao Hua would appear? They thought that the rarer something was, the more valuable it was. They only prepared dozens of jade slips and waited for the cultivators to bid. How could these jade slips satisfy hundreds of cultivators? Xiao Hua looked at the embarrassment of exiled monarch and Master Huan Xuan, and took out more than 1,000 jade slips. Yes, Senior is thoughtful." At this moment, Master Huan Xuan didn't dare to say that Xiao Hua was stealing their business. He took the jade slips and hurriedly handed them over to the cultivators. Xiao Hua looked at Hong Qing, who couldn't squeeze in, and threw a jade slip in front of him. He smiled and said, "Hong Qing, this is a gift from me." Hong Qing was overjoyed. He took the jade slip and carefully hid it. He shouted, "Thank you, Taoist Xiao." After an incense sticks time, all the cultivators got the jade slips of the spiritual root selection method. However, Master Huan Xuan didn't have a single jade slip in front of him. Obviously, some cultivators bought more than one and wanted to bring it back to others. Master Huan Xuan took the storage ring with more than 1,000 top-grade crystals and respectfully handed it to Xiaohua Sr. These are your crystals. Please take a look. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support. Vote for a month. Vote for a recommendation, collect, reward. Thank you for all forms of support. Chapter 49-36. Okay. Xiaohua took the storage ring and took out hundreds of crystals from it, placing them in front of the banished king. This is what Shun Ming taught me. The banished king was extremely embarrassed. He smiled apologetically. This cultivation method is senior's. Junior doesn't dare to take these crystals. Just take it when I tell you to. Xiaohua said indifferently. However, in the future when you sell it, it must be one top-grade crystal, no more. Yes. The banished king was somewhat confused, but he still hurriedly took the crystals. Since the spiritual root selection method had been sold out, the cultivators who entered the Chonglin Pavilion should have left. However, none of the thousands of cultivators left. They all held their breaths and looked at Xiaohua with rapt attention, as if they were expecting something. Strangely, every cultivator kept their mouths shut, not daring to open their mouths. Seeing this, Huan Xuan was somewhat helpless. He looked at the banished king and gave him a look. The banished king's mouth was bitter. He thought for a moment and said, Senior Zhang, Junior thanks Senior for giving the spiritual root selection method to the Heaven Alliance. However, Senior should also know that it's not enough to just have the spiritual root selection method. Without the spiritual root cultivation method, Junior heard that the Tao Alliance already has the cultivation method for Golden Core disciples. I wonder if Senior can give this spiritual root selection method to the Golden Core disciples. At this point, the banished king didn't dare to say anything more. He looked at Xiaohua with a kind of pleading look. Oh, is that so? Xiaohua slapped his forehead and said, This old man actually forgot about this. This old man has a set of cultivation methods suitable for spiritual roots to cultivate. It ranges from qi refining to great ascension. Who wants it? Everyone was silent. No one agreed, and no one dared to breathe a sigh of relief. The banished king only wanted a cultivation method to cultivate to Golden Core, but the cultivator in front of him, who seemed to only have the strength of nascent soul, actually took out a cultivation method to cultivate to Mahayana. Not to mention that this kind of magnanimity stunned everyone. But, in their ears these words sounded like a lie. Really? After a while, the banished king came back to his senses and shouted, Senior, this cultivation method. How many crystals do you want? As soon as he finished speaking, the banished king immediately regretted his words. He hurriedly corrected himself and said, Senior, this junior knows his mistake. If you need anything, please tell me. Senior. Illusory Swansea came to his senses a little too late and hurriedly called out, Senior, you can tell this junior whatever you need. Tong Lake City will definitely satisfy all of your requests. The exiled monarch and Huan Swansea opened their mouths. The cultivators below the bamboo platform were unable to open their mouths. At this moment it was no longer a question of whether they believed Xiaohua or not. Instead, it was a question of whether they dared to take this cultivation method or not. Call your city lord over. Xiaohua looked at Huan Swansea and ordered, I'm afraid you can't make the decision. Yes, this junior will go and ask for the city lord's help. Actually, when Xiaohua was blocking the attack of the Chonglin Pavilion's formation, Huan Swansea had already seen the disciples of Tong Lake City fleeing in panic. They must have gone to ask for help, but for some reason, the city lord still hadn't come. Huan Swansea quickly replied with a smile. Seeing that Huan Swansea had left, Xiaohua looked at the cultivators on the left and said, I can't give you cultivation methods that can directly cultivate to the Mahayana stage. Otherwise, once you leave the Chonglin Pavilion, you will be hunted down by the disciples of Tong Lake City. How about this? This old man has a cultivation method jade slip that can cultivate to the late stage of the spirit severing stage. Each jade slip costs 30 top-grade crystal stones. Who dares to take it? 30 top-grade crystal stones? The group of nascent soul cultivators were dumbfounded. They didn't expect that such a precious cultivation method would actually only cost 30 top-grade crystal stones. Senior. Suddenly, a cultivator who was concealing his cultivation base and his true appearance shouted loudly, "This junior needs a cultivation method that can cultivate to the late stage of the void refinement stage. Senior, can you sell it to me?" "Of course you can. Every cultivation base increases by 10 top-grade crystal stones," Xiao Hua said with a smile and took out another jade slip. "Damn it, I'll do it." That cultivator who was concealing his true appearance cursed in a low voice, before flying in front of Xiao Hua and respectfully handing over a storage ring to Xiao Hua. "Senior, this is the thing that this junior wants to bid for, the spiritual root selection method." This junior didn't expect to actually be able to obtain a cultivation method for spiritual roots. "This thing is all given to Senior." "Okay." Xiao Hua took the storage ring and handed the jade slip to the cultivator, saying, "You first check if it's real or not." After leaving the Chonglin pavilion, this old man won't admit it. That cultivator was a little embarrassed, but he began to use his divine sense to check it. After a moment, that cultivator said with ecstasy, "Thank you, Senior, thank you, Senior." After saying that cultivator didn't stay for a moment and rushed out of the Chonglin pavilion. "Senior." There were already cultivators rushing over and shouting, "This junior wants a cultivation method that can cultivate to the late stage of the nascent soul stage." Xiao Hua raised his hand and took out some jade slips, saying, "This is a nascent soul cultivation method. Help this old man sell it." "Yes, this junior understands." Fei Jun hurriedly took it, and then said to some other disciples, "You all quickly come and help Senior Zhang." Xiao Hua also gave some other jade slips to the disciples of Shunming sect. They were cultivation methods that could cultivate to the spirit severing stage, void refinement stage, and unification stage. Senior. Hongqing was a cultivator who was somewhat familiar with Xiao Hua. Although he was afraid in his heart, he also knew that Xiao Hua wasn't as strict as everyone thought. He gathered his courage and went forward with a smile. "Senior, you are a little biased. How come all the cultivation methods can be used by nascent soul cultivators? Cultivators like us who cultivate primordial spirit are also Dao cultivators. Senior, you can't favor one and discriminate against the other. This old man is a nascent soul cultivator." Xiao Hua looked at the fat monk angrily and said, "So this old man has so many cultivation methods. What about it? You're not satisfied?" Hongqing hurriedly smiled and said, "This junior doesn't dare. This junior just wants to see if Senior still has any cultivation methods for primordial spirit. How many top-grade crystal stones do you have?" Xiao Hua rolled his eyes and said, "You can't even afford to raise a tyrannical tiger, and you still want to buy cultivation methods? This junior only has 10 top-grade crystal stones." Hongqing took out 10 top-grade crystal stones and said, "I originally wanted to buy the method of selecting spiritual root today. If Senior thinks it's too little, then I'll sell the tyrannical tiger to Senior." With that, Hongqing waved his big sleeve and took out the tyrannical tiger. Who knew that the tyrannical tiger seemed to have heard something? As soon as it came out of the sleeve, it immediately hugged Hongqing's thigh with its 4 hooves, and its tail wrapped around Hongqing's calf. Its pair of eyes looked at Xiao Hua pitifully, as if it was begging. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote a monthly vote, vote a recommendation vote, collect a gift, and thank you for all kinds of support. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.